And we're live.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and Wraithguard to that 6+++ show. I am your host, Tom. And I'm on a bit of a roll here because I've already recorded one show today. So I'm just going to carry on through. We've got a really exciting little event report for you today because we had our very first 6++ invitational event, which was absolutely awesome. Really excited to talk about it. And I've got three fine gentlemen of the Plus who all partook in the gaming here tonight with me to discuss it. So we'll catch up with them first, then we'll do Plus Roundup and get into the games and the event itself. I start where I always start with my dear leader, Chris. How are you doing, Chris?
Hi guys, I'm very well, thank you.
I like the enthusiasm. That's a real injection of enthusiasm.
Got energy tonight. I've
Yeah.
been lying on my bed watching The Witcher, and I'm like falling asleep. And I'm like, right, boom, let's do this. Showtime.
Is that the new season?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to watch that.
Good.
Awesome. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Bit of Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah, can't go wrong with Henry.
Yeah. Well, he'll be coming into Warhammer soon, by all accounts. So that's massively exciting. Chris, is there anything new in your hobby life?
Last week there was.
There really was, wasn't there?
I locked and loaded my airbrush and went to town.
You absolutely went to town.
Went to Glow Town.
Glow Town, love it.
And all my vehicles received. You know what? I actually really enjoyed painting kind of like just that airbrush style on the vehicles and that with the dark and the light. That was really fun. And I was like, people do like this lighting kind of thing where you make it glow. So and I could do this on the cockpit. I could do it on everywhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's quite a strong look.
It is. No, you're in a place people often are when they first start using the airbrush, where you're like, I can do this almost everywhere.
So basically, for those who don't know, my Elder Army is a mix of blue, white, and pink. So everything has got those three colours on in whatever. Yeah. So if I had three of a fire prison, for example, one would be blue, one would be pink, one would be white.
Yeah, it's a really nice way of doing it.
At the moment, I've got two of everything. So I've got a blue and a pink, and all I'm just swapping them over. So I've got like a pink Hornet and a blue Hornet. And the pink Hornet has a bright blue cockpit and like lighting, and vice versa. It's just maybe I was a bit too harsh with the color choices. I don't know. You certainly notice it from across the room.
I think it's really vibrant. I like it. I think, I mean, you'll get maybe a touch more subtle with it the more experience you get. But I don't think for something like Eldar, where it's often got that kind of very otherworldly popping. In fact, you see all sorts of very striking airbrush looks.
Yeah. But it's good fun, and the airbrush was reasonably well behaved. I've been having like constant battles with my airbrush, but it managed to see through. It hates the Vallejo blue green, so it's really thick color. It just hates that with a passion. I keep thinning.
But that's your favourite colour in the world, right? So it's gonna have to get used to it.
It has. That's to understand the relationship we have.
This is one of my boundaries. This is non-negotiable.
But no, that was basically it. I was painting like half an Eldar army. It was just as much as I could to take. Painted some individual characters and stuff. Yeah. Had a bit of fun. So yeah, that's kind of me at the moment.
Yeah, very exciting, very nice. Lots of Eldar, and obviously we can talk about how they get on a little bit later. I am also joined tonight by a less familiar face, but one who has been on our channel before. It is the wonderful Jack. How are you doing, Jack?
Great, doing amazingly.
Excellent, awesome. No, that's really nice to hear. We met for the first time this weekend, so that was nice. Yeah. Having obviously we've chatted a lot and we've talked a lot of 40k as is often the way. So it was very nice to meet you in person. What's been new in your hobby life? What have you been up to?
Just mostly sourcing stuff for the town. Because you know how it is, new edition. None of the old stuff is good, and a lot of the stuff that wasn't good is now good.
Whiplash, new edition Whiplash. Yeah,
I'm buying Sky Ray turrets on eBay, for like 85 of a gun or whatever, because you need to run one gun on all the crisis units, stuff like that. And I don't know if you've been on the Games Workshop site regularly, the entire Tau range apart from Kroot is out of stock. You can't buy anything.
Okay.
That's pretty strong.
They're just too good.
Pathfinders. You buy Pathfinders and you buy Kroot. That's it. Everything else is out of stock. So you're just rooting around eBay, and God help you if you want to get an Onvar model. That ain't happening. So I've got to try and construct a few things. I've got to try and kit bash a Fire Strike team soon.
Oh, exciting.
The secret to playing a Xenos faction is you can put whatever the fuck you want on the table.
No one knows.
That's a Fire Strike.
Yeah, I was going to say, bless him. Like Xenos a couple of years in, you're just like, it's whatever I tell you it is, because I can't. I can't be bothered. You don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't know what a neurodisruptor is, but I am not of a mind to show you. But
that's it. It's the same with the Tau guns. It's like, what is that one? I mean, it's what I say it is, really. You know, is it an airburst fabrication injector? Is it a pulse blast cannon? You don't know. Like, it's just I could just say words, and you just have to believe me. But I'm sourcing all that stuff. Done a little bit of painting of breaches here and there, and then just loads of TTS, pretty much.
Great. We've had a lot of the team practicing and really grinding quite a lot in the run up to this event, which was great actually. And I think what's really nice is I think that showed, and that's really, really cool. So no, fantastic. And your tower did look nice. And I don't think I've seen a Sky Ray. I'd not seen a Sky Ray used before, so I was like, oh my word, what's this? And then we got chatting. I was like, oh, that's a really clever pick. Well done. No, I like it. There's some really cool stuff in there, but we'll get to that. I don't want to give that away. We'll talk tower in a bit. I have, of course, to address the elephant in the room.
We talked about how I feel about my weight.
Hello, Ed. How are you doing, mate? You're right.
Yeah, not bad. It's slightly cooler now, so I'm actually sleeping. I did not sleep well on the Sunday, Saturday night, Sunday morning.
No, that was not good. It's been roasting, as you say. I think hopefully it's easing off. I've just had an absolute load of rain, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, we've had that as well.
When it chucks it down, that's always good news. And what's new in your hobby life, Ed? What have you been up to?
Well, unlike Jack, no TTS and no grinding, because I had to paint like an entire fucking Eldar army. Which was fun. Because unlike Chris, you had an Eldar army to lean on. I just been sort of noodling away like, oh, I'll paint a little bit of this. I've got this is the cool model. I might use that. Just kind of waiting for the nerfs to come in. And then I did. And I was like, oh, now I want to use fire prisms. Now I want to use such and such. So I did. It was long. So
I think they looked great. I was really struck by the color. I thought it was a lovely color.
Yeah, I have an airbrush, but I've lost a small bit of it, and it's a really nice one. So I bought just like a cheap 20 quid one off Amazon. And that was better for base coating because the one that I've got is like, it's got great fine control detail. But if you try and base coat with it, it gets clogged up quite easily because it's designed for fine detail. And I never realized that ahead of time. So I bought this cheap shitter and did my tanks with it because I was like, there's no way I'm using contrast with a brush on 3 fire prisms. Are you out of your goddamn mind? So that arrived, and then I painted those on Thursday, did a bit more painting on Friday, and traveled down on Saturday, and then
got busy,
rocked up and started the day with caffeine because
good to have caffeine.
Oh yeah.
And Davey hosted you, of course.
He did, and he says that he made me sleep on the garage floor. He didn't. He gave me an entire room to myself with a bed. And the accommodation was fantastic.
He does. He hosts a treat, doesn't he? How'd you get on with Lincoln?
Lincoln?
Is he there? The dog?
Oh yes. I was thinking of the place.
Never been.
I thought we were at like, oh god, I got really lost for this
event. Sorry, I threw you
Lincoln. Who was I playing? No. He barked at me loads, and then we went out for a walk, and I threw treats over his head, which David.
That's the one.
That's the key. Is the
trick. When the first time you play against Lincoln, it's quite stressful, but then you realise how to deal with it in the meta and what you need in your list. What you need to handle Lincoln is to throw a treat over his head 3 or 4 times, at which stage he calms the hell down.
When you play against him, the meta. Go outside and touch some grass.
I need to, don't I? I do. I desperately need to. I mean, I've been outside all day, just in Dunstable, but I'm not going to talk about that on stream. Right, we've got some comments. So hello, everyone in the chat. We've got Davey here, Aaron, John. John says he played 3 games since Monday in prep. Did it help? Hey, it probably helped. Could have been worse, John. Can always be worse.
Game, right?
Remember, it can always be worse. And Sean says, I'm confused. 2 streams. Yeah, well, 2 streams. There was 2 things to do, Sean. So here we are. We're doing twice as much today. There was an exciting Spanish adventure to talk about, which we will get into the Plus roundup in a moment. But I'm going to let Chris take the lead on that. So, actually, for hobby roundup for me though, I have built a Hecaton land fortress today because I don't know. I'm having a whole time with this whole edition right now. There's a lot of stuff flying around. I'm trying a lot of different stuff. I realised I've got God knows how much Votan that I bought in 9th that I haven't made. I was like, I want to build this and play with it. So I'm going to do that, and we'll see how that goes. I've also put a bunch of demo charges on Acolytes because sometimes you got to do the obvious thing. Yep, sometimes you got to do the obvious thing. And I've painted a Death Company Dreadnought because he's super fun as well. So it's been a very all over the place kind of week.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, Jack says evening. Oh, hi, Jack. Great to see you. Chris, we're very good at self-promotion, possibly the best. Do you want to take the lead in promoting the self?
It would be my pleasure.
Amazing.
Since last we spoke, we have carried on the index in depths.
Yes, we have.
And we've got Franco's out to do with demons.
Mm-hmm. True Demon Lord himself.
Few sound issues, but we'll get there. Mm-hmm. Lewis has done the first Imperial Knights one, which is really well done. He's very knowledgeable.
Oh, he's a very long time Knights player, isn't he?
Yeah, he only mentions the Valiant a few times. Davey's back with Bugwatch. Hoorah!
Yes, he is.
Do it fortnightly now and look at the best lists.
That's sensible.
I think for anyone interested in looking at seeing what sort of Tyranid lists are out there and doing well at the moment, his is the show to watch.
Yeah, he puts phenomenal research into that show.
And then, obviously, Aaron used to do Expanding Empire. Now, our very own Jack has taken over.
Yes, Jack has taken over the mantle. Because Aaron's too lazy, wherever you are in the chat, Aaron. just abandoned it.
So,
he'll be back soon with Custodes Watch. You wait.
Oh, yes. So Jack's done the first one. We looked at some lists and spoke about broadsides and all those sorts of things.
Amazing.
Very nice, very nice. So if you want Tau stuff, Expanding Empire, that's going to be coming out regularly. Jack, you said you've got another episode to film, didn't you? Just after.
Yeah, I got one written up and coming this week, hopefully, and then also working on the Index and Death for Tau as well. That's going to be coming at some point.
Very cool.
Amazing.
So, Tau stuff on its way.
Yeah.
We've also just released Davy's version of Angry Watch. So he's gone for World Eaters Index in depth, and he's spoken about that, which was liked on the competitive 40k page by the one and only Neil Robertson, the world champion snooker player. So well done, Davey.
Oh, wow.
So I've played Neil's tournament, and so we know each other, but he's based in Cambridge. He's quite good friends with Jack Ty and stuff. He's going to be at the London Open this weekend.
How exciting.
So
hero.
Well, we know why, because of Davy's video.
Does Jack just know everyone?
Jack,
is he the most well-connected man in this country?
He's a very connected man.
He is, yeah. So, that's pretty cool. And then on top of that, we had a live show just recently, as in about an hour ago. In which Tom, Davey, and Aaron spoke about the time that the Plus went on tour to Spain.
Yeah, our first ever Plus International Exchange. Davey and Aaron went to Barcelona, played a GT, made a bunch of friends, had an amazing time. And they talked a lot about it. Davey put a nice presentation together. And I think it was really interesting to hear about that whole experience of traveling to a foreign tournament. And actually, it sounds A, easier, and B, a lot more fun than I'd necessarily anticipated. So I think it's definitely something to try. By all accounts, they now love us there, so it might well be that some of the Plus will be going back again in the future.
We have been invited to the giant team tournament before. We were invited last year for that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
By the can't remember what they're called now. The team that are always over here.
Order Hispanic. We should definitely do that. That would be great.
What a pair of great representatives. Because how often do you get British tourists going to Spain and the Spanish people go, "We love you. Please come back." Good job, guys. Good job, guys.
I think that's impressive, isn't it? It's definitely, that's not the usual tale. That's well done to our Brits abroad.
I've got to say, the last time I saw a bunch of wargamers going to Spain, they were not clamoring for us to return. So
really?
Appreciate that to preparing our reputation.
Nice. No, very good.
That's us. Upcoming, we've got. I keep getting sent index.
He's just got mail flying in these days.
Yeah, I've completely lost track of who sent me what. just searching through my Google mail. Is there any? Oh, not open that one. Cool. Let's put that together. So the next one will probably be Blood Angels. Tom's done Blood Angels.
Yeah, Blood Angels is very fun to do.
Try that out. Chancellor, you sent me. I'm calling you out here live on stream. Alex Chancellor, you sent me a PowerPoint and a video of yourself talking.
These are not the same thing.
That makes things hard for me in the editing world because the editing software I use doesn't just turn a PowerPoint magically into a video for me. So I'm gonna have to do some wizardry. So that's why I basically can't afford to do that yet. But be like Tom, where he just sends me the thing and I can just click upload.
I've come on leaps and bounds if I'm getting a be like Tom. That's praise.
Yeah, be like
Tom. I am.
Or in fact, Ed.
I'm getting. Ed's the one who was like, maybe if we were all technically competent, this would be good. and everyone was like, I was like, I've been getting away with not being competent for ages, but I guess now we've got a new standard I'm gonna have to rise to.
I just had a thought. Do I? Because I sent you the Chaos Knight one like a week and a half ago, and
did you?
It's just in
I've
the
definitely
queue.
forgotten that one.
No, don't worry about it. There's been stuff going out all the time. Do I need to re-record that? I might have to give that a listen and just double check.
It'd be worth double checking.
Yeah.
Depends if you talk about points.
I don't think I do really talk about points, and it doesn't really change much because Chaos likes the little ones more than the big.
I think that's the thing. I think the instinct was already there, wasn't it, to head in that direction? I know Lee was always only really even trying big knights because we kept going on about towering in the chat.
Yeah. So thank you for letting us have a 2-minute diatribe there. That is what the content channel is like, where we just kind of talk about the stuff that's going on in the background. Really interesting for you all.
Yeah.
You got a fascinating insight into the inner workings of our smooth operation.
This is the machine, the bang average machine producing the bang average content that you all love.
I mean, obviously you want an email address which is also linked to your other email address, so that you just have to trawl through everything, all the time.
Of course. You could make a folder, but
I could. That's not how I work.
Behind the scenes of 6++ is just an enormous Rube Goldberg machine. At the end, it's just a little button that just presses the enter on the publish button.
It's just a hamster spinning a wheel. It depends at the time who's doing it. Yeah. Right now, Chris is the one running in the wheel. It sucks to be there.
Yeah. It's a rough time. Hello, Paint Celestine, by the way. Welcome. Sisters will get done. I really like the look of the Sisters rule set, although actually Jamie Clifford, our very own Jamie Clifford, is getting very excited about Sisters at the moment. And because I'm now a Votan main, I may yield that to him. But I'm going to do the Sisters Index probably this week. I think it'd be good to do part 1 this week because there's some really, really cool stuff in there. It's a really fun index. So, yeah, I'll try and get that done.
So there you are. Sisters next week for you. Confirmed live on the internet for you.
There we are, and everything I say I'm going to do happens. That's one of the things.
That's one
of the things about me.
Tom, in one word, reliable. That is through and through, guys.
Consistent. I'm consistent as all hell.
Consistently reliable.
Consistent and reliable. Yep. Always have been. Always will be. Okay, brilliant. Right. So that's Blues Roundup. We're going to chat 6++ Invitational now, because this was an absolute triumph. This was down the road in wonderful Bedford, fine UK location, and this was put on for us by our very own Davey Little, who'd been keen to dip a toe in putting an event on for a while, and we'd got the idea that it would be really nice to make it a 6++ event. And I mean, Chris, I don't know how much more involved with the process of setup with this were you? Were you and he sort of back and forth about this, or was this very much?
I had literally nothing to do with this.
Amazing, that's great.
So Davey did absolutely everything. I mean, might be like the odd a little reference or question, but no, he took full responsibility for all of the organisation. And he said to me right at the beginning of the day, he was like, "Oh, it's a lot more hard work than I thought it would be." And I think at a tournament, you rock up and you're like, "How hard can it be?" Just get some people, get some boards, play the game. Yeah. And actually, there's a huge amount of behind the scenes work,
enormous
needed. And we have Lewis and the team, and he runs the Saffron events, and he's kind of alluded to it before and how much it can take over your life. And I think the fact that Davey was able to do that and run such a well thought out and organized event.
Yeah, 100%.
Because let's face it, when you do things for the first time, we've all been to tournaments. Surely we know what a tournament should have. But things like his little touches, like the WhatsApp group where he's
Yeah.
updating us there, all the way he invested the extra money into refreshments and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. I thought he did an incredible job.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think in terms of setup and organization, it was really, really good. He managed to reach out to a bunch of really nice groups. So we had some players there from Vanguard, from Mind Goblins, from Lethal Dice, a bunch of people from all round as sort of extra players to kind of get our numbers up to a decent size RTT. Prize support was really nice. There was some very nice beers on display for different people, the winners of different prizes and that kind of stuff. So. And yeah, the WhatsApp, as you say, was very slickly organised. So well done, Davey. It sounds like Davey himself isn't going to be doing another one for a little while, just because he's got other commitments coming up in his life. That's what they're going to call it. They're going to call it other commitments. He told me. He told me in confidence, but I'm breaking the news live on air. Baby's child will be called other commitments.
Little.
Sorry, other commitments. Little. I don't hate that, you know. I don't hate that. I think that's all right.
I don't know if you guys have talked to him about it, but just to bring us back on track, I'll very quickly shout out some people who did help with the event before we get into it. And if I've missed anyone, I'm so sorry. I had no part in organising this. This is just Davey talking to me when I was down. I believe my nemesis, Lewis, was helpful in getting things done, more on the logistic side. Paul Bridge obviously gave some prize support, which... no spoilers, but went to this guy. So big thanks to Paul Bridge and also Ashley as well, who supplied the terrain, which was really helpful for David, so he didn't have to get hold of those.
No, exactly. And the terrain and mats, everything else, like the chipping in on that, obviously made it so much more possible. And we're not a team that have those assets to hand. So for a bunch of other people who all run events, to give us such a massive helping hand with setting one up, I think it really speaks to the community, right? Because I think you'd be tempted to fall into thinking there's a bit of competition for space. There's a lot of events these days, but to have these lovely friendly people just literally showing us how it's done, I think that's awesome. So yeah, massive thank you to those guys. Wonderful. Okay, well, 3 games. I reckon we can rattle through 3 games in a half decent time. It's going to make sense to go round by round. So we're best introducing what everybody brought first. So do people want to just go through your list, a little bit about what your thought process was with this, and what your sort of expectations or process was going into the event? If we start with you, Jack, because yours is quite an interesting number.
Yeah, so I brought the towel.
Yeah, you did.
Thought.
Yeah, you did.
So I did go over my list in detail on the Expanding Empires video, so you can go watch that one and give that video a view.
Yeah,
clever. You can see where I went through it.
The very best at self-promotion in the world.
So just to go over it sort of briefly, it was Shadow Sun, Ornvar, Cold Star Commander, the big unit of Crisis with all the plasmas and shield generators, 2 Sky Rays, and 3 stealth battle suits units. Sky Rays were there for the Eldar matchup, basically, because basically everything flies in Eldar, so they're really good for that. And then the Crisis unit was because I don't like Space Marines.
You don't want them to exist?
No, I just don't want them to exist, and they didn't exist. I also took a big unit of broadsides. I did just want to try them out because I've seen a lot of people. It's using them in their lists, and they were using the new UKTC terrain layouts at this event. So I really wanted to try them out on that as well. So I got good use out of them as well.
Yeah, excellent. And what were your sort of, I guess, thoughts and expectations about Tau and what you'd be dealing with at an event like this? What were you sort of positive about? What were you negative about?
Well, Tau have a really big issue with anti-tank a lot of the time. They're pretty much the only options are railguns, which is I think was why people go so heavy into the broadsides.
Okay.
And there were a lot of knights at this event, so I was concerned that it was going to be an uphill struggle because I only have, the Skyrays are good, but they're not really designed for taking on knights. It's not really what they're there for.
Because they're not like prolonged shootout material, are they? Either like if you don't drop one.
They're okay. They're not incredible though. So I was worried about that, but no, I also just didn't want to deal with Eldar. No one wants to deal with Eldar.
Same, man.
And the last thing I was concerned about was actually your GSC, because I saw you were taking them.
That's fair.
And I couldn't really. It's GSC, but also I indexed heavily into the like anti-tank and anti-sort of space marine stuff. I didn't have any like massed firepower to take out GSC, so I was concerned that if I came up against that, I was just going to be. I just wouldn't have enough bullets to.
It's been an issue for Tau the whole time I've played GSC, actually, because they often come spec'd for killing elite stuff, and then it's not that Tau don't have the guns for GSC, it's just that they don't typically bring them, right? Because they've got to bring stuff for a bunch of other stuff that's more pressing. So that can definitely be an issue as a matchup. Oh, you teleported! Amazing. Okay, great.
Out there for a second. I don't know what happened there. That's literally never happened. But...
No problem at all.
Oh, we reorganized into a fitting order there. I think.
Have we? Oh, good. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. Wonderful. Okay, let's talk about your list, Ed. Oh, we've swapped around again. Ed, what did you take?
So, actually, Chris and I built my list live on stream.
Oh.
Go and check that out. It's in the live.
That's another video.
Yeah, a bit of promotion. That's the one called unbalancing and list building. It's an original idea that I came up with myself. Definitely didn't watch any content from some guys called Nart of Door or something along those lines.
What would they know?
So this was very fresh and innovative and really smooth. I think we had a great background for it, and it looked great. So if you want to see why we took some, why I took some of the units that I did, go and watch that. But yeah, so my list was top to bottom. I had an Autarch Wayleaper because he's a lone operative. He gets me AP. It's just good to have.
So good, yeah.
He yeets around the board. He can do actions after advancing. He's just 80 points as a steal. He did have the Phoenix gem because I had 25 points spare.
Yes, he did.
And not to spoil anything, this is the first time I've used any resurrectability in 40k ever. Like I've never played any factions that have it. And the first 2 games I played, he died, and I rolled a 1 to resin both games. I was like, sound. This is just. So he's just dead then. Love this rule. Feel great about that.
Yeah.
I definitely played like more risky with him because I had that, and I was like, "Oh, this will be fine." Wasn't fine.
That's always the risk with those. Is that you're like, you could get back.
It was not my wisest choice. Then I had a Farseer on foot, joining no units because I'm a rebel without a cause. That was kind of just like I resent paying 110 points for a bodyguard unit. I didn't want to have to farm fake dice with Guardians now that you're kind of limited on how many you can take. So I was like, fuck it, I won't play any indirect. I think he died turn 1 or 2 in my first 2 games. So, testing may have been conclusive.
Yeah, I did think the foot Farseer was ambitious, but I mean, it worked.
It was a bold choice. And, yeah. Someone's in the chat. Someone knows what I'm talking about. I had a Spirit Seer with Fate's Messenger, which lets his unit flip a single die to a 6 after you roll it. That's a hit, wound, or save. And he goes in a unit with devastating wound guns. I'm sure that.
He does. Yeah, he does.
Especially now you can only use 1 fate die per turn. He's like having a cheaty second fate die.
That's it.
With no cost.
Yeah.
And he was really part of my MVPs. I had 3 fire prisms because they're just good and at 150 points.
Super good.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring them, and then they got nerfed. And I was like, okay, now they're just too good instead of so good that I feel.
Yeah, they gain 30 points each, right? And
I'd still take them at
they're still amazing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
150. Unit Shadow Spectres, which were pretty nice. I would have actually liked a second one. 2 support weapons with the D cannons. 2 units of Warp Spiders. 3 Wraith Lords.
Yes,
very much because don't let your memes be dreams, and I enjoy using them.
Yeah.
And then a big brick of 10 Wraith Guard, and I'm really looking forward to talking about turn 3.
Yes, Wraith Guard are bloody good.
Maybe the best melee unit in the game.
They are. Me and Ed were talking about it. They are without a doubt the best melee unit in 40k at this moment in time.
Oh yes.
What that says about 40k, I'll leave you to decide. But they are incredible. And it's worth it. You're going to want to listen to Ed talking about how he uses them because there's some real tech and finesse play with these. That's actually really, really cool. So yeah, very, very exciting. And actually, one of the coolest Eldar units, I think.
Oh, personally.
I think
it's funny.
Lovely.
So Rob reminded me that I have been wanting to do a Wraith army for 2 editions, and it's kind of accident. I've backed into it accidentally, which is nice. So
at just
that's
the right
cool.
time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I looked at them when the 9th edition book came out, and I was like, the Wraiths aren't good here.
No.
Then I put the book down, and now here I am with like 800 points worth of Wraith units, and I have more that aren't fully painted, just on the side here. I've
On
got
the
Wraith
way.
blades ready to go.
Be quite interesting to see what 2 10s was like if you had a 10 of the blades and a 10 of the guard.
I think you only take 5 of the blades, and you plonk them on an objective. The way that I was using the Wraith Lords, but
yeah, they can do that job, right? Are they the same sort of cost as Wraith Lords?
A little more, 170 as opposed to 160. They have no
tons.
shooting. They're comparably tough. It depends what you're shooting at them.
Yeah.
I prefer the Wraith Lords, but
yeah, I thought the Wraith Lords were great, but we'll get to those. We'll talk about their role. For you were not the only Eldari player at this event. There was another. Chris, what did you take to this event? Why did you do it?
Why did you do it?
Why did I do it?
Why did you do it?
I did because I've been playing Eldars for over a year now.
Over a year now.
And I have a best list, like I think is like what I really like. I don't own all the models for it. It's like my TTS list.
Mm-hmm.
So what I wanted to do was take a bunch of stuff that I'd recently acquired and paint them up and just, because they're good units. But I also wanted to take some things that aren't really as talked about at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And just to see, what did I think? Like, did they have the chance of earning a place? I guess you could consider, like, let's say when Eldar next get hit in a few months and all the points go up on all the other stuff which everyone's using at the moment, will like what else could take its place and what would kind of work?
Get ahead of the game.
There's some units there that in that book that I really like, but they just aren't quite point sufficient or whatever at the moment. But they still are very good units. I just wanted to give them a go. This went through a variety of iterations, but eventually I ended up on a mix of, as I said, like the core stuff which you're obviously going to take if you want to just go to an event, and also some extra stuff. So I had the Way Leaper because 80 points for an extra CP, and the Lone Operative is you're always going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
I did have initially the Farseer and the Guardians to protect the Farseer.
Yeah.
I then thought, well, actually, why don't you just take without the Guardians to an event and see what happens? Mm-hmm. What I noticed over these 3 games is actually how less important fake dice are now. I ended up just not particularly caring about them a huge amount, but okay, cool, I'll use this. But the Farseer's response or role didn't have anywhere near as big an impact as I thought it would. So
interesting.
I think what you do now is give him the Phoenix gem, so that if he dies to Desolators, then he can come back up and you can use him for another turn.
Yeah, that's quite smart.
I think that is how I would do it now.
Yeah, make it a real resource sink for your opponent to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or,
that's actually quite savvy. Yeah, I like
that. Because the Way Leaper, in theory, potentially isn't dying, and you don't really care that much if he dies.
If he is dying, you don't mind. You've decided it's time, right? That's how it works. Yeah.
So those are my 2 obvious choices. Then for the other characters, I went for the Incarn. I'm still trying to work out, do I want the Incarn? I find it so interesting. Some people like he's an auto take. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And
it has to be done. It's so good.
And then you got Mikey from Hellstorm saying he should be like 350 points. And as I'm like, I played 6 games. Just fuck all. So we'll talk about her in depth. I think she's
I love your in-card stories, man. I can't wait. I'm excited.
So then I took 2 Phoenix Lords. So I took Fugan, because Fugan's cool. Fugan has got a Melter 6 plus D6 damage gun.
Yes,
and gets up on a 2-up.
He does.
And has 6 attacks which are damage 3.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
he is quite a little baller. I'll give him that.
He only moves. He doesn't move very far, but you know what? I was like, I'll give him that. And then I also took Zerman, because Zerman was with 10 Dire Avengers, and I wanted to try that little package. It's quite an expensive package. Zerman's 120, Dire Avengers 140. That's 260. But the idea behind this unit is that they sit near the middle, they move out to the middle, they fire 33 lethal hits at your opponent. They look pretty. Then your opponent steps out, and then with the Zerman, they overwatch for 0 CP, and you can overwatch somewhere else.
Yep.
And then your opponent goes, right, I'm now going to kill them, and you go, I'm going to phantasm away first behind this ruin, And then I'm going to do the same thing again next turn.
Yeah. If I must say, this is some proper Eldar bullshit that you cooked up, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
And it's really handy, and I think you can kind of. I'll talk about my final game, where it kind of they're a unit that I get. It's so hard to quantify. Are you getting the points out of them when they're actually kind of controlling a part of the board? They're not getting to do much, but they're controlling a part of the board.
I think you absolutely are. Yeah.
So that's an interesting one to think, and it will come up in a game or two. Then I had 2 fire prisms. I had 2 hornets. Hornets are just ridiculous for their points. Still yet to fly over someone to drop a bomb, though. That's sad. I then had a unit of 5 rangers because I always have to have a screening unit. 2 D cannons, a viper, 2 war walkers because I was interested to see, they are very good, but are they good enough? Then I had 2 units of 5 warp spiders, which I believe at least 2 units are mandatory, in my opinion, because they are just so
they're incredible
mission playing, and they were great in every game. And I'll talk about that. But yeah, that was it. It was just a mix of stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously, Eldar stuff.
It's got game, but there's a lot of experimental flavor in there as well, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I am going to publicly apologize live on stream to Chris's War Walkers. Because Chris posted an in-progress photo of them in our chat, and I said a lot of horrible things about them because they are.
The phrase was, that looks horrific. Not that I've got it.
It's not the GW model. It's a sculpt from elsewhere, and having seen it in person, it does work. It's very pretty. I just caught it on a bad day from a bad angle in a WhatsApp.
Bad lighting.
And through some heat. And then people who know me know that I'm prone to say things I shouldn't say in WhatsApp. And that was one of those days. So you have to own it. You have to apologize.
You've been the big man there. Well done, Tom.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I didn't want that bad blood between us going forwards.
I mean, I haven't really wanted to talk to you recently.
But no, I've noticed that. Yeah, it's been dead quiet. He never calls for games anymore. He's like, no, he slagged off my wall. He can burn in hell.
You're dead to
me. Okay, great. And so finally, I had Gene Stealer Colts for this one, and primarily the logic with this was to practice it for our teams event that we're going to actually this coming weekend. Because people who know the game know that the meta is in a slightly loopy place. I'm not a massive fan of this meta. I'm not a massive fan of the idea of traveling to places, like far away places, to play games for it at the moment. I'm very happy to do local stuff, but I don't really fancy long journeys and such. And I was very much toying with dropping out of the team's event, but then I remembered that it's our team and it's our mates, and I didn't want to let people down. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make sure I have some reps. I had played one game of GSC before this event. I played it with Ed. It was one of the most batshit games of 40k I've ever played in my entire life. So I knew that they were crazy, but I also wanted to try a few different things out. And in my case, this was Aberrants. Aberrants are my favorite GSC unit. I wanted a big slab of 10 with a Biophagus with the forward deploy with Inscrutable Cunning, so you can just shove 10 Aberrants up the board somewhere and be like, deal with it. They're extremely tough these days. I had a second 5 with the Abominant, and this is purely for my own entertainment, because the Abominant is just a guy with a big hammer. He's the big Aberrant. He's the Aberrant's Aberrant. He gets back up when he dies as well. And they were, I think I was in my head, I was like, I'll rapid ingress that little 5 and then they'll go and make trouble. And they're not very fast, Aberrants, is the one issue with that plan. They didn't necessarily get to places, but it was fun to have a bunch of them on the board. I did almost bring 20. And then you're like, this is just so many points in little men with hammers. I can't justify. I also wanted to try. I hadn't tried the Jackal Bomb. This is the infamous GSC Jackal Bomb. You have Atalan Jackal Alphas in there, and you can run up, do mortals, shoot, move again, do some more mortals. It's quite funny. It's quite cute. You can have an enhancement to try and squeeze a third go round of mortals in there, but I didn't bring that. And then I had some of the good stuff as well. You got your neophytes. I had a few squads of those. I had a couple of squads of the demo charge acolytes, who are an extremely potent unit, but one it's like learning to use a grenade, basically. I've got no idea still at the moment. Like it's the application felt difficult, but it's clearly a phenomenally powerful unit. And I had a whole bunch of supporting characters. So Reductus Saboteur, Primus, Nexus. The Nexus is obviously an MVP with lots of free CP use and helping to move blips around. The Acolyte Icon Ward, who gives a Feel No Pain to a unit and again can relocate a blip. And I did leave a couple of the key tech pieces at home. I think a big one is the Clamavus for GSC, which has a big deep strike screening aura, which I think is essential if you're playing like super serious GSC. And boy, will there be a game in today's recount where I wished I had a Clamavus, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And yeah, I think GSC are an army right now where the optimal list doesn't look very nice. It's just troops for days, I suspect. I think that's what it would be. Acolytes, Neophytes. All the fun stuff is basically indulgence and flavor. GSC are extremely strong. And I was curious to see how that played into this field. There were a few lists I was quite concerned about. I played most of them. So it's going to be quite fun to recount that as we get through it. But let's start with you guys. If we go for round one, and maybe if we start with you, Chris, what did you draw for your round one?
So I played Ben's Tyranids. Ben's one of the founding fathers.
He is, yeah.
He doesn't play as much these days. He finds tournaments quite stressful. So it was nice to see him.
It was lovely to see him. Yeah.
He played his first game of 10th the day before in Italy. And smashed Lee's Chaos Knights. And the way this mission was, like the search and destroy corners, like the map, there wasn't really that great hiding spot, and he had a lot of shooting. So I couldn't really push forward in my deployment. I kind of had to hide as best I could. I did my classic Chris thing of thinking kind of cleverly, but they're not actually fully enacting it out. So, for example, I was like, so I was really worried about turn one if he went first. So I was like, right, I'll put this War Walker on the edge of my deployment zone, and then it's got scout move 8, so I just pre-game move it to the to behind this ruin over there, and then I'll hide this Hornet behind this cover, and it's all fine. And then Ben got first turn. I was like, okay, right, this is fine. And then I went to move the War Walker. I was like, 8 inches doesn't actually get me behind that ruin. So see me.
I find that with scout moves all the time. You're like, I assumed this would help me. It's not helping.
And then he's going to move his Exocrine slightly, and you can see the tip of the Hornet, which is sticking around on the cover where I haven't pre-measured how far he can see. And then he's thinking of charging his Gene Steers across this D cannon, where I've half screened it with Rangers, but not really properly done a job. I'm like, shit, it's not great. Anyway, Ben was basically because my Rangers can move when someone moves in, the Gene Steelers weren't able to. He basically was put off about trying to get to my D cannon, which was quite good. He had a load of shooting. He had 3 Exocrines, a barbed hydra, 2 units of 6 zone thropes, and then like Gene Steelers and gaunts and that. And in turn 1, he was able to drop the War Walker and Hornet that were basically there with fodder. Mm-hmm. I then hit back and killed 2 Exocrines in my shooting phase, which was, I've lost 4 Bright Lancers, so I was pretty happy with that. Mm-hmm. My Warp Spiders were able to kind of fly 24, claim some Gaunt Source on objective to get a point, and then fire and fade into cover.
That's beautiful.
Warp Spiders.
The full Warp Spider experience, right?
It was glorious.
Is that the most reach you've ever had? In terms of Eldar, I can't think of anything that covers that ground.
It's 2 CP for 30.
Yeah, I think 8th Harlequins had a double move where they could get not far off that. They could go like 32.
8th Yunari.
Yunari, where they did whatever the hell they wanted
from the back of the vaults. Oh,
I never had to play against that, and I'm very glad.
I did.
It was like a nice combo, and then the Incarn turn 2, because failed Fortune turn 1, obviously. Incarn.
Here we go.
Here we go. Warm up.
Get ready.
Juicy Maliceptor in the middle on like 5 wounds. And I'm like, right, let's go, Incarn. How could you possibly fail this after I've dropped the barbed hydra on turn 2? 3 damage. She did 3 damage to the Maliceptor. And I was like, good, excellent. Right, well, this is less than ideal. She then was able to teleport to safety in turn 3, had another crack at the Maliceptor. So she did 3 damage in turn 2. She did 22 damage in turn 3 to the same Maliceptor. She only had 2 wounds left.
We had exactly that when you attacked my Talos with her as well, right? Where it was like the first time nothing, the second time both dead. Like.
I was like, good, excellent. We only got to play 3 turns. but it was at the time 66-41 to me, and we were just like, yeah, that's fine.
Strong position.
Because I was able to kill the big bugs. I was really impressed with Zone with his zone throats. Not so much the single shot, but it was the other shot. Like that, because they're like strength 7, blast, D3 damage.
That's nice. Yeah, that's nice into a lot of stuff.
It was cool. So that was quite nice to see the Tyranids. But yeah, I have enough mission playing units that on that map could go score their objectives and stuff, and he didn't quite have the maneuverability to get around and hurt me as much. So yeah, that was a 66-41 win, which put me as the lowest winner out of everyone.
I was just going to call you out for that. I didn't realize you only played 3 rounds.
Did you assume he'd done it on purpose?
Well, so for anyone who doesn't know, we played, score in brackets, so the top score versus the top score. So Chris has had a cheeky submarine there.
Yeah, he's had a little submarine.
I'll spoil it for you now. I paired down in every single round.
By design, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I played the system, and well, we'll see how it turns out.
Just waiting for David's video, the expose.
I was watching your game when those zone throws opened up on the Dire Avengers, and they were very impressive. But I do think their sort of effectiveness was maybe a bit overblown by you failing 4 3-up invols in a row.
Oh, no.
Azuman?
Was that Azuman?
Yeah. With a CP reroll?
I was like, 3-up invuln. Right, failed it. Okay, right. Roll your damage? Okay, right. Well, no, I failed that one. Okay. Failed that one. CP reroll. Right. Okay, we're still in. And oh no, he's dead. Thanks so much.
3-up invuns, man. What they like. Eldrad always used to fall over for me as well. Never manages to take a hit. Okay, very nice. Well, we will move over to Taulan. Jack, what did you get round 1?
I was against Paul Bridge.
The Paul Bridge of Vanguard
Paul Bridge.
The Paul Bridge, yeah.
So he was playing his Space Marines. He was actually playing Ultramarines because he had Gulliman in there. Gulliman, he had Uriel Ventress, Master of the Fleet, and a Primaris Librarian. The Librarian had the Bold Discipline thing. He was in a big unit of 10 Desolators. And then Uriel Ventress was in a unit of Stern Guard.
Okay.
Then they were using the Deep Strike the Uriel Ventress's special datasheet ability.
Right, okay, yeah.
There was that unit of Stern Guard, a second unit of Stern Guard, a Repulsor with 2 units of Eradicators in there, 2 Inceptor units, an Infiltrator squad just sat in the corner, and that's the big Desolation unit. Interestingly, the Stern Guard units had the combi weapons, not the. I'm not sure what the other gun is called, but the one you kind of see that a bit more often because it's just extra shots.
Oh yeah,
anti-infantry 2+.
Me and Ed had this discussion when we reviewed it, and I think, like Paul, I was drawn towards the combi weapon.
But it's anti-infantry 4+.
Yeah, you're like, wow, that's
devastating
amazing.
Wounds.
But then Ed, ever the pragmatist, was like, no, but this, and this. I'm like, yeah, to be fair, that does sound.
Have you considered more shots?
That does sound eminently better, actually. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So he immediately got drawn against an all-vehicle army.
Yeah.
That didn't work out too well for him, unfortunately.
No.
I went tactical objectives for this one. I don't really like tactical objectives, but I made a point to myself to do it for every game because I just wanted to make sure I just get reps into it, try it, see what I like, what I don't like about it. So as Chris mentioned, the board is quite open, and there's like 2 big bits in the middle around the center objective. And then way further back, like in the corners and the deployment zones, there's like another big bit. But other than that, it's just kind of like it was a wood, effectively. It was a vent, so it was a wood and some bits around the board. But you had to go through quite a large open area of the board.
Completely agree. Yeah, the boards. This one was actually better than I think the later 2 maps, but it was still pretty open.
Yeah. So Paul had his Desolators in the back ruin, and then Gulliman, the Repulsor, and some of the Stern Guard in the front ruin. And then his Infiltrators on the side and objective. I put a Ghost Key on the opposite side, and then we just sat across from each other and didn't fudge. But I did set really far back. I think it sat too far back. I have a unit of Breaches in the Devilfish, and they didn't do anything because I drew the card. Hold the center. Cool. I can't get anything on the center in the first turn because I deployed so conservatively because I was worried about the Desolators. So that's just a learning point for me. Probably just make sure I'm available to be in the center of the board a bit earlier than that.
Completely.
Just send a unit warp spiders.
Just do elf things. Yeah.
Well, Crisis can go 30, so again.
Just throw away your Crisis brick turn 1.
Exactly. The Crisis. So in my point, I basically had everything in the back ruin. Ghost Kills out, and I had the Crisis and the broadsides in reserve. I reserved all of them. I reserved both of them in all my games, as well as 2 stealth suit units, and I did that for all my games just as a sort of learning experiment. So we did nothing on turn 1. Basically, I think I literally did nothing on turn 1. He moved forward and killed like the breacher unit, basically. Apart from one dude, he didn't kill one guy, which was important later because he went on the objective and he did the cleanse objective, the cleanse secondary mission.
You love it.
And then he did die to an Inceptor driving up to his a Repulsor driving up his face. With that scene from Saving Private Ryan, where he's shooting the gun at the.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what it's from.
Like the real massacre in the Tiananmen Square. Never forget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep your light.
Okay. Yeah. Heavy stuff.
Okay. So the Crisis unit came down with Exemplar. Paul had put 1 Stern Guard on the other side of the ruin just to put a guy in the objective in the center. So by shooting that one guy, 22 plasma shots with sustained 2 into them, smoked the whole unit. And then the Eradicators that tried to kill the Ghost Kill was way too tough. 3 shots, I think it's 4 shots from Eradicators you get, because Ghost Kills can just turn 2 shots to damage 0. It's just not enough to get through them. So they ended up getting shot off by broadsides that came on from reserve. And then from that point, because the Crisis unit was just out in the open because the board was so open, the Desolators came out with their super cracks, fired everything at the Crisis, and he killed, I think it was 3 Crisis suits. I just rolled really hot on the invul saves for the crack guns.
Nice.
And then I did a bit of damage back. The problem was because there's so few units in Paul's list, he had to, and because I'm all vehicles, he ended up having to deep strike the Stern Guard onto his home objective when he brought the Desolators out. And there's 3 big units in his list, and then it's just like double Eradicator and some Inceptors. And so you kind of, by turn 2, 3, he basically had nothing left apart from the Desolators. So I was able to just put units into them. And when the Inceptors came down, the Skyrays came into their own because they can Overwatch on 6s with full rerolls, and on the secondary weapons as well. And so I was able to take them off.
That's really nice. Yeah.
So that was really good. And he just ran out of resources really quickly.
Yeah.
And my stuff wasn't dying. Gulliman ran out, made a hero play, killed a broadside, tried to go for Shadow Sun. I killed him on the Overwatch. He got up, I killed him again. It was a nightmare.
That's so good.
But he just kept passing these 4-up invuls, and I was just like firing railguns at him and not rolling devastate wounds. And I was like, why can't I just turn this into an auto 6? It'd be so much easier. It was. I did eventually get him down, and the turn I got him down, he charged onto my home objective, and I got the get an enemy off an objective card, or kill an enemy on an objective card, and assassination. So that was a big chunk of points in the last turn.
Great.
And then to top it off, Paul totally whiffed killing my Hammerhead in the last turn. So I got the extra 4 points for the primary, which was the one for killing more. You get 4 points for killing more.
Yeah. It was big in that game.
Yeah, which resulted in a 3-point win for me.
Fantastic.
But I had a funny discussion with Paul after the game. He was saying, that Crisis unit is so good. It takes so much punishment. I had to throw so much at it. He shot it one time with 1 Desolator unit and used 1 strat on it, which made it free. And he killed half the unit with anti-infantry shooting, basically.
Yeah. I one-tapped it with a unit half its cost and only killed most of
it. So much resources I had to invest in this Crisis unit.
That's the 9th edition brain, though, right? Because you're just like, I pointed 1 unit a thing and it's not dead? Holy shit.
What the hell's going on?
That's just Marine players, like, they're spoiled. Brain rot.
Hold on. Coming from Tau shooting.
Oh,
I know it's not so amazing in 10th edition, but like,
we're not so far removed. Sounds like it's still doing some work.
Depends who you ask, really. What unit you ask, really. That Crisis unit. The broadsides didn't really do anything in this game, but the Crisis unit just absolutely just demolished that unit of Stone God. Like, I think I got like 28 hits off 22 shots. With rerolling, and then 2s rerolling 1s. It's okay. And have 28 AP4 ignore covers or AP3 ignore cover shots. It just dies. That was a good shooting.
It's really good. I mean, that's a good scalp as well, right? Paul's a good player. So I think that for round 1, that's a tough draw.
He roasted me the last time I played him, so it was good to get revenge there.
Ah, nice. Yeah, it's important to keep him in his place.
What was he saying? Your shoes are shit.
Yeah.
God, we're not being nice to each other today.
I can't imagine Paul roasting anyone. He's
not
too friendly.
See, now I'm really self-conscious because I need new trainers, and my ones are really shit.
Oh, really?
Like, they're really ratty. So I'm like, did he see my trainers? Like...
Mine are honestly falling apart. But I don't think Ed's been paying any attention to anyone's shoes.
No. That was just like, the go-to. What are those?
Yeah.
While we're on the subject, I have thrown away my shoes that I've been wearing because I just got some cheap ones because they're plain black. I needed them for the work, and the sole had worn away, so it wasn't like it hadn't worn through, but it was flat. And I was walking through town with my partner last weekend. I think it must have been like Saturday, just gone, something along those lines, and it had been raining, and I had to keep walking on the road because just all the
no grip
slabs.
left.
Yeah, no, I was just slipping around. I am gonna get rid of those. Fully just fuming at myself.
Yeah, that's the classic when the shoe is like, I'm giving up on you now. It's over. Like, it's, the time to get rid of it was way back, but I'm actually just genuinely falling apart. Okay, I'm going to do my round next, just so we keep the space and the elves out for a variety of factions. So I got Orcs. I got Ben Piddington's Orcs. I played Ben Piddington before. Orcs, if anyone who's followed my GSC adventures of the last couple of years, absolutely flatten me every time I play them with GSC. They run over, they take up all the space, and they destroy me. Oh, Ed has a point.
Because I've been thinking about GSC today because my brother's interested in playing them.
Okay.
I think I have a tech answer for you.
Okay.
You take a character with the forward deploy, and you put him in a block of 20 models,
and just
if you string them out, that covers 55 inches of space.
Yes,
that's a lot of space.
The massive 20 Neo forward deploy string is something I'm aware of. It's not necessarily something I want to do, but that would
another 4 of them, and it comes back.
That would absolutely do it, wouldn't it? That would certainly do it. But so the situation with this is quite a straightforward one. I think at the moment GSC are obviously much more overtuned, so they probably have a better game into Orcs than they normally would. But the issue is that Orcs can very happily spring forward and basically cover the entire board in turn 2. At which point, actually dropping in things is very difficult, even for your first wave, much less stuff that's regenerating. And finding space for blips at all to bring stuff back is also very, very dangerous, right? So there's a risk with this that you end up with just nowhere to be on the board whatsoever. And so I forward deployed the Aberrants out on a flank on one objective, and then I put literally just the little 5-man with the Abominant as a willing sacrifice at the edge of my deployment zone. And then I basically kept most of my army on the board and shoved it behind that in a sort of, when they come, and they will come, we shoot them on the ground rather than dropping in. Because you've got ways to go back in reserves and drop up, and I was kind of like, the sensible thing is to clear as much space as I can and then drop into other places later on. And Ben gets first turn and hits full send, and about 120 boys come running in. And I think essentially, I was talking with Jack Tight about this. It was worth saying, shout out to Jack Tight for just coming and just floating around the event like a lovely, wise Gandalf, offering his wisdoms to people. So nice. This is how he knows everybody, because he's just, I'm not even playing. I'm going to come and hover around. Maybe he wants us to invite him to the next one. I think maybe that was a subtle hint.
Then he'd just say no, right?
That's
the Giga Chat move, right? You want me to come? No.
No chance. Yeah, so we were discussing it afterwards, and Ben had, I think, 20 Storm Boys. It might have been more. And the play there is you bring those central, and then in the turn 2, they fly to all the corners I could possibly put blips in, and then it's Jenga. And that's what I was worried about going into the game. It was like, if the Storm Boys just take the turn and then go, there is literally nowhere on the board I can realistically put the blips because he's filled up all the space. But he sent them up the flank into the 10 brick of aberrants that I'd forward deployed up on the side, which I think he should have just completely ignored, to be honest. I'd have just whacked my whole main army, dealt with them later, because they're slow and they can kill stuff, but they're not going to affect enough of the board. And so they got stuck in the aberrants. It's worth saying 5 aberrants and the abominant took about 40 orc boys to the face and was still alive. They just are so durable at T6 and with the 4-up Feel No Pain. Orcs do not like them at all. And the Storm Boys just got gradually killed off by the aberrant brick on the other side. So it just became a bit of an attritional one, which did mean that as I lost stuff, and I did lose a lot of stuff on the front line, he wasn't able to get far enough into the back lines to stop stuff then beginning to do the brand new GSC bullshit of just chaining back up the board, carrying on shooting. And I think I nicked his back objective with a Primus and some demo charges because the cards demanded it. And then he ran out of puff, essentially. He'd killed lots of stuff. He'd taken a lot of casualties from the sort of counter-attack that I'd set up for him. And so, yeah, he got worn down by attrition. So the GSC took it in the end. But it was a scary, scary game. That was definitely one of the lists I absolutely did not want to face. But it's worth saying Ben was lovely. We have a lot of fun when we play. I've played him a few times now, and it was an extremely funny game. Right. Back to Eldar Land. Ed, what did you have round 1, sir?
We're an hour in, so I'm going to keep this fairly brief. Just for the sake of, I played Joe Waddock. I think.
Waddock.
Yeah. So apologies for butchering your name. He was lovely. He was my vote for sportsmanship out of all the games we played. He was playing Grey Knights, and he was playing 3 Terminator bricks with characters, a couple of librarians that shit out mortal wounds everywhere. He had a Grand Master for doing a free stratagem and coming in turn 1 with a deep strike. Then he had some strikes, some Inceptors who can fire and fade. Scrivo says in the chat, outrageous that I give him sportsmanship. The way we were talking to each other, we shouldn't be giving each other sportsmanship. We should maybe be giving each other like elocution lessons for like, maybe this is what you don't do. Anyway, back on track. So he just had he had a couple of Dread Knights as well. He bounced around the board and he didn't kill anything, because I looked at his list and I was like, so the top strength of all of your output is 10. He's like, yeah, that's right. And I was like, cool. My Wraith Lords are T11. He said, yeah, that's right. And I said, they have a 2-up save. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. So having played now quite a few good players with very glass cannon lists, I've come to realize the lower the toughness of your army, the more aggressively you should play with it. So turn 1, just yeeted a Fire Prism up the board, got an angle, killed a Dread Knight, killed some incidental stuff, just, pinged shots through the linked fire. Mm-hmm. Remember when people lost their shit about that back in 9th edition, and then you never saw Fire Prisms?
No one ever used it once until now.
Turns out now that it's not a stratagem, it's a Dave Sheet ability. It's cracked out of its goddamn mind.
They have certainly found a way to make that extremely good, haven't they?
All you need to do is pair it with 2 hit and 2 wound rerolls.
Yeah. Although, is it damage 6, the gun, as well?
Yeah, it's pretty consistent. It's not bad.
So good.
And then it has a blast. Mode as well.
Yeah, I know it does.
The thing that gets me is that you don't even need line of sight to the other prisms. It's
a
prism. It's light. Why is it bending around walls?
No, you do have to. Oh, right. So as in like the actual prism bit of the model, as you mean?
Yeah.
I'm with you. That might be slightly more abstract or less abstraction than works in the game. But
do you actually need line of sight to another?
They do. They do have to see each other to chain off, but you can chain from one to one.
Eldar are very fair. We have limitations to our
That's
bullshit.
my misunderstanding.
Like warp spiders, they can normal move 24 inches, but they can't advance or charge afterwards. It's really very fair.
Yeah.
So the long and short of it is he played it very well and had me actually quite scared in the first couple of rounds. His Vindicare Assassin sniped my Spirit Seer, which is very sad.
That is sad.
That means, actually turns out in this matchup it was good because it gives. You get lethal hits when you've got the Spirit Seer in the squad, which means if you Overwatch with it, you can't do fake dice shenanigans.
That is true.
So suddenly there was just an 18-inch bubble of like, oh, if you come here, I will use fake dice, and I will just splat you when you come in. Sorry. So that was fine. He took my home objective on like turn 2 or 3, and I had a moment of like, because at this point I had taken the entire middle of the board. I had like Wraith Lords in the center. I had fast shit in each corner, and I looked at it. I was like, I don't think my home objective matters at all. I think I'm going to let you have that. And then he just had about 400 or 500 points on my deployment zone. And at the end of the game, he still had a big brick of Terminators there that I was not interested in interacting with, while everything else was dead. So that was good. But great game, really lovely guy. Enjoyed playing him. Lovely team. I've played one of his teams before, Toys of Mass Destruction.
Oh yeah, they're good guys.
Only good things to say about them. So great first round. Really enjoyed it, and it was really fun to see. Grey Knights are such a fun army. If they had a little bit more damage, I think they'd be great. As it is,
and they're pricey, aren't they? They don't get a ton of stuff on the board.
Yeah, and we were talking about it, and he convinced me maybe it's not the right call, but I would almost like to see just like a Valiant, and you just go, this is the thing that scores me primary, while everything else bounces around the board. Because
interesting.
Really struggle with primary because you pick up models at the end of your opponent's movement turn, and then come down at the end of your movement phase, and then you go, oh, I've got nothing on objectives. This is So maybe a big knight would help with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, good times. And that I shouldn't have been concerned because by the end of the game, got 100 because tactical objectives are just fantastic for Eldar. I play tactical objectives every game. I'm really enjoying them.
I really like them.
If you've got the tools to use them, they feel great. It's very rare if you've got an army that can abuse them that it feels like you get a dead draw. It does happen occasionally. But
it's always the case with elves of any flavour. I mean, I have the same with Drukhari. You're just so well equipped to score any of those. That's the thing. So it's not the same for all armies. I can see why Tau, who often need to be careful with the bits of the board they're in, they don't necessarily want to do whatever card win they get,
We'll come on to that later.
Yeah. I look forward to it. Okay, so round two. Because it's funny and because I know he's in the chat, I'm going to bounce it back to Ed immediately because I know who Ed got and I want to hear him describe this round. Go on, Ed. Who'd you get? Talk them through the process.
Manchester, round 2. I've just come off playing Alex Petford's Dark Angels. I lost. It was a tight game, and I ruined his run at the top cut. So I was happy with that. We had a good time. Yeah. And my reward for that, playing Dark Angels at the height of fucking Dark Angels with Desolation Marines, was I played into Scrivo, my teammate, and it was the first time we'd met, really. And he was playing fucking Dark Angels with Desolation Marines.
Yes, he was.
When I saw my round 2 pairing here, I thought I was having a stroke. I looked like, Dark Angels with Desolation Marines, Scrivo, round 2. So yeah, that was the running it back. And this time I was maybe, I don't know, more friendly, less friendly. I did say to him before we start the game, I'm going in dry. There was definitely some banter going on before the game, which was good. We had a good bit of chat before the game. But yeah, it was the end-to-end horrendous banter. Yeah, no, it was pretty horrendous. It was the end-to-end hammer and anvil deployment, so it was quite a long setup.
Yeah, this was a different kind of mission, really, wasn't it? We've not played a lot of hammer and anvil in recent times, so it's funny having that and all the things that means back in our lives. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was playing 15 Desolation Marines, and then a repulsor, a whirlwind as well, because more non-line of sight. God, who would run non-line of sight shooting? Only dickheads. I definitely didn't have any in my list. Moving on swiftly.
It's a coward's weapon.
Yeah.
Real men jump out of holes with never-ending men.
yeah. Real men have line of sight shooting.
Real men come in 3 away with units that can never die.
Because that's fair and balanced.
Yeah, the game's in a terrific state.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a T Swift fan in the chat. Love it. Perfect. Yeah. So that was the basic setup there. So we were playing a hammer and anvil round 2. What was the mission? I think it was just like hold stuff in the middle.
Yeah, hold 3.
Yeah.
Hold 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, cool. So it was something that I felt quite confident going in. I've got a very tanky army, so I figured, that'll be fine. Shouldn't be a problem at all. And I just started doing my bullshit, which was I deployed as much on the line as possible, but behind walls. Scrivo went first. He killed my Farseer. Oh, he drew Assassinate on his card. And then
Amazing.
my Farseer turn 1. I was like, I didn't plan for this. I was thinking about putting in reserve. I was like, no, this is fine. He's so far back. It's just the Venga launchers and the whirlwind that can reach him.
Wow. Oh yeah, the fucking
Yeah,
whirlwind can shoot
I hadn't thought about the whirlwind. There was a little bit of like, if I put him down, maybe that baits him into shooting that. And so I was really concerned he was going to shoot into my big brick of Wraith Guard. And he didn't with the non-line of sight. Turns out that didn't matter. But yeah, oh god, that was a concern. Anyway, so that was the setup there. He also shot his Castellan launchers into one of my Wraith Lords, and he did 3 wounds, and then I rolled a 1-1 for my saves. So I was like, sound, great start for this game. Loving my life, having a good time. So that was fine. And then my turn 1, I just get out onto the point. I moved a Fire Prism up so I could absolutely melt his Vindica Assassin, because after losing my Spirit Seer in game 1, I was like, not happening. Still happened. Still lost the Spirit Seer very early, but that's because the whole squad died. And
Ed, by any chance, did they meet Azrael and the Hellblasters? Did that happen?
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus Christ. This unit is insane.
It pumps out some numbers. So I used a 5 on my Fate die. Tactical gaming here, using Fate dice for things other than mortal wounds. And I ran my Wraith Guard up the side of the board, sat them on an objective, and moved them up 11 inches. Boom. Great stuff. Then it came into Scrivo's turn. He decided I'm going to put the Hellblasters here, and he was very, he's measuring it out fastidiously. He was like, cool, so I'm over 18 inches away, so they can't shoot back, because for anyone who doesn't know, that's what Wraith Guard do.
Oh boy, do
Once per battle round, when you attack them, and it doesn't say like shoot or fight, I think it just says attack.
It just says attack.
They get to make an attack back, and it's not at the thing that shot them, it's just anything in range.
And it's not any penalty either, it's just the whole unit just shoots its guns.
So
he's
measuring out, and he's like, yeah, cool, there's this little 6-inch window. Great, really happy about this. And then I went, oh, hold on. Have you remembered that I can phantasm? And he's like, oh. So then you'll be in range of me. I was like, yes. He goes, is there anything I can do about that? I said, no.
Literally no, with a 24-inch range. There's no way you can do it.
You can stand behind a wall, but, that's all you get. So I was like, fine. I'll do it anyway. And I was like, yes,
big damn hero.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is going perfectly according to plan. This unit is so lethal. Anyway. So he finishes his movement phase. I phantasm aggressively forwards, because that is just the thing to do with this.
That's actually how Eldar are primarily using it at the moment.
Especially with this brick.
A lot of aggressive play with it,
So I'd run like the basic numbers in my head, and I was like, I know they do a lot. They kill probably like 5 here, and I think I'm okay with that. No. So he shot the Hellblasters, killed 8, shot Azrael, shot the Hellblasters that died, and I think killed another one or something along those lines. And I got to shoot like 1 model back, and I think I maybe killed a singular Hellblaster. I was like, oh no. At this point, he could see just like the fear in my eyes, because this is like a 400-point unit.
Yeah, that brick is not meant to die, right?
It is a keystone to my list. So at this point, I was like, oh, well, I've got to really pull something out my arse then, haven't I? Fortunately, because he'd put all the shooting into that, there wasn't much shooting going elsewhere. So like one of my Wraith Lords got a bit dinged up or something. It wasn't, too much. And then it came into my turn, and I fired 3 Fire Prisms into the repulsor that he had exposed. Didn't really do anything. I'd managed to get, I rolled so poorly. Double hit roll, double hit reroll, double wound reroll should be really good, especially when it's like 3s and 3s. Nah, I don't know what it was.
Should be just happening, right?
I never complain about dice, and this was just like, I don't know what was happening. I was rolling like 1s into 1s. It was absolutely brutal. I was really concerned, and then I was like, oh god, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then Rob turned around, who was playing behind me, and apparently every time Rob watches one of Scrivo's games, it goes wrong for him. So at that point, I was like firing non-line of sight D-cannon into a repulsor, and I rolled I think I rolled 2 6s, or I rolled a 6 and I fate diced another 6. And I was like, oh, Cool. No, that was it. I rolled 2 6s. And I was like, oh, cool. So the repulsor had 10 or 11 wounds remaining, whatever it was. I was like, oh, cool. So then I just rolled my first bit of damage. I rolled a 3. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to take this 5 for my fate dice. And that kills the repulsor. So I have been saved. Basically,
Kaboom!
yeah. Rob turned around, Scrivo's luck completely went in the floor, and the repulsor died after, because that was like the last thing I could shoot at it. I shot my 2 Wraith Lords with Bright Lances as well.
You've got that sinking feeling that it's actually going to be coming back at you, and that's not good.
Yeah, it was pretty rough up until that point. But in all that distraction, I'd also pushed my Wraith Lords up the board. So they were, I think all 3 of them were still alive at this point. And I had, 2 behind some middle ruin, kind of tucked in, and 1 further over to the left. Came around to his turn. He did some incidental fire. I managed to phantasm some stuff just to be a knob because, that's how you play Eldar. So I made his life a little more difficult. And then the most exciting thing was turn 3. I had 2 Wraith Lords on his home objective, tagging things that shouldn't be tagged. I think it was 1 into Heavy Intercessors and 1 into a 5-man Desolation Marine Brick.
Oh, bless him.
And yes, as he says, no primary for Scrivo. Yeah, that was great. I felt very good about my 8-inch moving Dreadnoughts on turn 3.
I mean, you think Eldar, you do think primary Dinar, you don't think Wraith Lord primary Dinar, right? That's really
underrated.
funny.
Underrated units, absolutely underrated. Really enjoyed using them, and that was kind of it. At that point, I just stopped him from getting, I think, any more primary, or maybe got a little bit more. And I was end of game, so I just,
end of game scoring was big on that mission as well. Right? There's so many objectives to go and get points from. So
yeah, as tradition in our games, he thinks he has it. Turns 2. I think I've lost it. Turn 2, and then I go, hold on, I'll just win the game now, and it all goes right again. Lovely Scrivo. We'll play again in round 2, and I'll beat you.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah. Right. Let's go back to Taulan. Jack, what happened to you in round 2?
So I was playing 6++'s very own Alex Chancellor.
Alex Chancellor, lovely. Very nice.
Yeah, he's with the Death Watch.
Yeah.
Watch. There's a lot of death factions around here.
There really are, yeah. Too many.
So his list was basically a big brick of Terminators with a chaplain in it, a Killy unit of Death Watch veterans with the swords or something, some kind of weapon. I don't really pay attention to combat weapons at all. I'm just like, don't touch me with it and just stay over there.
Yeah, will hurt more than I want. So don't go near it. Yeah.
You'll beat me in combat. It doesn't matter what it is. You will, so just stay away. I don't really pay attention to what it is, but it's a combat unit. A couple of, I think, 3 5-man units with some storm shields, and then it's like a Killy character to go in the combat unit. And then he had a Knight and a Vindicare Assassin.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I spread out, when I deployed, I spread out quite wide across my deployment zone, just to stop him doing any teleportarium shenanigans and deep striking stuff in. So I sort of spread out across the whole deployment zone. Did 10 wounds to a knight on the first turn. That's basically what I did. So he moves forward, does some damage to me. Nothing too serious. I have drawn cards that I can't score on the first turn again. So we trading those out as we go. Second turn, I bring down the crisis unit. And the other thing that's important to know is because the cards I'd drawn were behind enemy lines and something that it was involving being behind in the enemy's deployment zone.
Okay.
Which basically meant because the Ghost Kill was holding the objective was the only thing that could score it. So I either didn't score not scoring any secondaries, or putting the Ghost Kill forward, probably suiciding it, and then putting Shadow Sun forward in a vulnerable position.
Right. Okay.
Which is what I ended up doing and taking the risk. I lost Shadow Sun for it, but the Ghost Kill lived. But it was just really annoying to have to commit a lot of resources to a very sudden change in game plan, which I didn't really like.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a fan of that.
So that's exactly what we were just chatting about, right, with the cards, and that's tough.
Yeah. So so I brought down the crisis unit. One thing I kind of noticed that was really good is because they have 24-inch range instead of 18, which they used to. You have a lot more room to play with. You can stay away from stuff, because rather than deep striking within 9 and shoot stuff like most of their armies do, you deep strike within 24, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to shoot you from all the way over here, and you're not actually going to interact with me in any way.
Nice.
Can't imagine why people don't like playing Tau. So they drop down. They kill. They were planning to kill one of the Deathwatch units that annoying my ghost kill, but Alex did a double rapid ingress. He brought in the big combat unit of Deathwatch with the character, and he also brought in the big Terminator unit. And the big Terminator unit came in the center of the board, right in front of the Knight, but there's a big terrain piece in between the Crisis and them, so I couldn't shoot them with the Crisis at all.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then the other unit, the combat Deathwatch unit, the normal power armor dudes, were in behind a building, so I couldn't shoot them either. So I had brought the broadsides on the side, one of the flanks, onto an objective, because on Hammer and Anvil the objectives are close enough to the board edge you can actually come on within 6 inches and still get on the objective. Because they did have a line of sight to the Terminators, and they killed like 8 of them with the railgun shots or something, because they fired, they got I think 5 hits, and then one of them was a devastating wounds, so that just rolled through. They killed a bunch of them, and then also had the Sky Rays to shoot there as well, and ended up killing almost the entire Terminator unit. I think got them down to three models on that unit.
Nice.
Without the Crisis unit shooting, and then the broadsides. That was the broadside, sorry. And then the Sky Rays did a ton of damage to the Knight, I think, killing it in that turn. His turn next, he went up. He brought the Deathwatch veterans, I think they are, came up. Full risk to hit against Xenos. That's not fair. I don't like that. But you know,
it is their job, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's fair. It's just racist, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So, they're the most racist chapter by some distance. Yeah.
They chose the broadsides and they just totally bounced. I got the 6+ stim injectors for 6+ Fimo pain, 9 wounds. He killed 1 and got 1 down to a wound. They fired in combat. They rolled like a million 6s on double exploding 6s. And I think I killed the entire unit with broadside shooting in combat. With devastating wounds. I think there was a couple left, but so that was my turn 3, and from that point on, I think there was because he used the teleport. Actually the teleportarian strat to bring one of his remaining Deathwatch units behind Onvar, and he got a charge, but Onvar just popped his 2+ invulnerable save, didn't die.
Oh, amazing! That's a cool thing to have.
Yeah, he's got once per game for 1 phase. He can have a 2+ invulnerable save.
Is it rerollable? I'm always very jealous of rerollable tools.
Yeah, it's rerollable.
Oh, that's so sick.
You can't.
That's so good.
But he also has -1 to hit and -1 to wound innately, and he has 9 wounds, so he is kind of hard to kill.
Shit's all over my Archon, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he does nothing else. He's just a lone operative. Like he doesn't. He has no damage output.
I will not die. I hope you can turn that into a plan of some kind.
Yeah, literally. He has 1 strength 2 attack that hits in a 6. Like. But yeah, he fled off, and Sky Ray came over and dealt with the situation. So that was fine. So, but at that point, there was 1 unit left in the center of the board, and the assassin in the corner who was screening for all of my many deep strikes. So the Crisis unit, which was at the back of the board, jumped forward 18, then another 12 to score his home objective, and then killed the assassin that was in lone operative range. With just a couple of shots, he just rolled really bad on the saves. And despite his last remaining Deathwatch veteran unit with the Storm Shields rolling like absolute heroes, I think he rolled like 12 4+ invul saves in a row. He had 1 unit left. It wasn't enough for him to win the game, unfortunately. And I think I got 3 15s on the last 3 turns of the game in terms of primary.
Good.
But I only scored 28 on secondary scores because I just wasn't getting cards that I could score. And to be honest, I got really lucky on the turn where I was going to run forward. I draw capture enemy outpost, so I got an extra 8 points off the back of that, just by pure blind luck. So really, it should have been like 20 points ish on secondaries. But that game in particular was like really rough on the secondaries. I just felt like I couldn't score anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, on Hammer and Anvil, what would you have picked that would have done you better, do you think, if you'd gone for fixed? It's not an easy map for movement ones, is it? Nice.
It's not. No. I think teleport homers is a fairly safe one. I think I could have got assassinate here because I could have got 16 points out of assassinate because I did kill all the characters.
Yeah.
So I think if I get enough, I think 4 or more, like you can get like 16ish on a secondary objective. It's probably worth going, particularly for Tau, which a lot of the game plan is kill everything. I think that's
a classic.
I think that's a good shout generally.
Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. So. And very well done. Again, Alex is a very good player. I know from speaking to him that his Deathwatch are not optimized for 10th. Let's put it that way. But he's still a very tough opponent, and it sounds like you had to deal with some rapid ingress bullshit, which is always very dangerous.
Yeah, rapid ingressing two massive units.
That's some scary stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. It was terrifying until they were no longer there, and then it was no longer terrifying.
Yeah, that's the way.
But yeah.
Great. Chris, what happened to you in round 2, my man?
So there were 18 players at the event. There were now 9 undefeated players, and I was at the bottom of that pile.
Yeah,
which so only got to play 3 turns and scored 66. So I got paired down into Max, who had played an incredible game into our Rob and lost like 98-91 or something.
Yeah, they'd had a phenomenal Drakari mirror.
Drakari mirror, right?
Yeah,
so he was there with his 91 loss, and there's me with my lowly 66. The unfortunate fact is that Max had brought kind of a bit of everything that he had.
It was a lovely thematic mixed Drakari list.
It was very much so, but he still tried to lean into the shooting element, but he had Lilith and 10 witches. Problem is that Drakari are trying to do the shooting game. Elder are doing the shooting game.
They are.
Elder do it a lot better.
They do it a lot better.
So this game can basically be summarized as I got to go first, killed a Ravager, a Raider, and 2 Talos. He then had his shooting turn, killed a Hornet and a War Walker, and then I deleted most of his army.
Yeah.
It was a very long shooting phase because, I've got an 18-unit list. I've lost 2 of them. 2 of them don't shoot, like 2 little characters. Other than that, everything is doing something. Incarn's teleporting, everything's firing. It was pretty brutal. And I tabled him turn 3. And there's nothing he could have done about it.
No, it really isn't.
This game just felt like,
oh my God.
10th is lame because you're literally just like, I'm going to move out and shoot you. You're going to move out and shoot me, and we're just blasting each other. There's no tactics here. There's no nuance. This is, I've drawn some cards which I need to hold the middle objective. Cool, great. One little thing which I did wrong in game 1 and I did right in game 2 and 3. Rangers, when you're forward deploying, any forward deploy unit, try not to put them on objectives if you can avoid it, because obviously some cards about drawing cards, killing units on objectives. So just don't give them that. So I'd interwoven my ranges across to block off. So that was a little thing. But yeah, it was just, and the thing was, Max rolled absurdly well on his save. So I'm going to
on the old 6-up inwards.
Real Space Raiders here. Your dice. They need some salt.
Yeah.
His dice. Oh my word! The amount of 6s he rolled to save Bright Light. At one point, he rolled boxcars into my prism. I was like, this is bullshit. And
Drakari have a game like that sometimes. That's how they be.
Despite that, it was still horrendous. He took it very, very well. He was a lovely opponent. It was just a massive mismatch of lists and armies. As simple as that.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, it's a matchup. I think because Drakari are so stunted on the melee side at the moment, you are just trying to outshoot them, and you're just not as durable as what you're shooting at, and it shoots a little bit better. So it's just it's a tricky one. I feel like reserves and then trying to go with everything at once and hope is the only way to avoid that getting dunked on first turn. But yeah, it's tough. My round 2. Speaking of Drakari, so it's worth saying we were matching up on points. We had myself, Scrivo, and Ed on 100 points each. And I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the mission. I'm going, I wouldn't mind Ed or Scrivo on this map. I mean, obviously, Ed is always terrifying. But it's like this.
Scrivo.
Yeah, no disrespect, Scrivo. I play Scrivo a lot. I think that's the thing. When you play someone lots and lots and lots, you get in patterns with things. But then I was matched down into Rob Kimpton, who I've played many times at events and who has beaten me more often than not and is an excellent player and was on Drakari, another speedy fast list. So another one that with Fire and Fade does have ways of making blip life very sad. I think on this mission, and I would say on the third one as well, I think the terrain placement didn't do enough to stop guns getting what they wanted. And I think in this mission that really hurt Rob because Rob couldn't get up the board and stage and get into me and stop me shooting him because all his transports just struggled to find places to hide. He went first and pushed some stuff up and went up both flanks, and then he did kill some of my bikers. I had stashed a bunch of aberrants quite a long way up the board in a ruin, and they basically then in my turn waltzed out and just started whacking boats with hammers, which they did for the whole game. This 10 brick, they just killed a boat with some hammers, got shot a bit, went, killed another boat with some hammers, just kept going. They're durable as all hell. All of the Drakari shooting didn't seem to want to get through them quick enough. And we were having exchanges on the flanks, tussling over objectives. I got quite lucky on primary at one point because I failed to kill a raider, and then I realised that it was going to score Rob primary when it dropped stuff out, and he hadn't actually got on the point, so it wasn't doing anything on that point. And I'd nearly killed him onto the point, and then my own failure had come around and helped me out. It is worth saying, so with the sort of more silly GSC units, the Jackals and the Aberrants and stuff, they can come back on a 4-up. I did not fail a 4-up roll to resurrect anything until literally the last one I rolled at the end of the day.
Which, to point out, was at a point where it didn't matter.
Oh, it didn't make a single bit of difference. And we commented literally on that before I rolled it. I was like, I've had it all weekend. Boom, first failure. So I was having some blessed luck. I flushed all the dice afterwards. They're all down now. So you'll never prove anything. But this I think for Rob made it a massive slog because that 10 aberrant brick came back immediately after he'd killed it. The bikers came back after he'd killed it. And it was just I just think it's a horrific matchup for Drakari because GSC can just land next to transports, pop them, and then it's fine if you don't kill the contents that turn because you'll be back again to get them the next turn. Rob killed a bunch of stuff. He would have got a couple of blips with a Mandrake charge coming in from reserves around the side, and if he'd made the charge, that would have helped because he'd have taken out a couple of the blips. But that failed. Obviously, it's a 9 charge with a reroll. That's not always great odds, but it was a good sort of Hail Mary. And it was just he's told me he's going to put witches in to carve up my neophytes with next time. So we'll see how that goes. But it was always a lovely game playing Rob. We both take our time with our decisions. I think it's fair to say. And we were also having a bit of a chat, so it did run on. I didn't finish it. Jack said to me like on the, I can't remember when it was at the end of the day, you're like, did you finish a game today?
Yeah.
It had to be said. I'd been on a very busy work week and I was just barely on my feet at all at this thing. I was so knackered, and then trying to play fucking GSC, having not played them before in 10th was not a good time.
I remember after my first game, I'd finished my game and I went over to watch yours. It's like, oh, we're just starting turn 2.
Yeah.
So, oh, okay.
Yeah. There must have been like 300 bodies on the board in that game. It was insane. Like the Orc GSC one was absolutely nuts. So yeah, lovely game with Rob. And the primary scoring on that mission just played into my hands because you were getting quite generous primary for just dying off in the middle. So it was a nice one, and so took that one in the end. Okay, final round, Chris. You've been matched down. Surely going into the next round, a sort of tough foe awaits.
So I got matched down again. My 100 points weren't enough at this point, so I was still bottom of the winners. So I played Mr. Joe Waddock, who Ed had defeated in round 1.
Oh no, he had to play double Eldar.
Yes, he did.
Oh.
Yes, he did.
I'm so sorry, Joe.
We did that to Joe. Okay.
Yeah, have to deal with that.
That's cruel and unusual punishment.
Absolutely horrific. The TO should have intervened. But anyway, carry on.
It was a really interesting game, actually. Grey Knights, yeah, it's such an interesting army because they've got this whole can't be targeted outside 12 thing. They've got the fact that you can move within 9 of them and they just vanish. And yeah, it was just on top of that, the mission we were playing. Oh my god, I hate this mission so much.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
Oh, same, yeah.
Basically, it's Dawn of War, and you've got
Ed?
You've got 3 objectives in the middle. one, and then you got one in each of your deployment zones.
Mm-hmm.
And the primary is hold the middle. One
Yeah.
in the middle. No matter.
It is.
You score nothing for holding your one.
You
On
get
top
nothing.
of that, they start vanishing towards the end of the game.
Yes, they
So
do.
what happens is you're scoring zeros on your primary because you keep blowing each other off it, and then all of a sudden you get 8 in turn 4 for holding it, and then 15 at the end.
Yes, you
So
do.
if you go second and you have stuff left, there's a very good chance you're just going to, and you've both scored equal on your cards, you're just going to win because you went second.
It's got old abandoned sanctuaries vibes in that sense, doesn't it? With the sort of middle placement and the big swing. Yeah.
And Joe got to go second. I was like, crap. Because he could take a lot of stuff off the board, and I couldn't really see anything turn 1. Got to make the most of my 36-inch move for behind enemy lines with the wart spiders, which was nice. And he kind of, to reciprocate, he kind of shoved 5 Terminators, untargetable Terminators, like in the middle of the board. Had stuff around, and I was like, okay, right, well, I killed some of it, tried to play around it as best I could. I was like, right, Incarn, time to shine. Back left-hand corner, go deal with those 5 Terminators.
Here we go.
5 attacks rolled 3 1s.
Yeah, there we go. That's your income every time.
Yeah,
every time.
So, and this is the interesting thing. So over the course of the game, essentially what happened was the Incarn sat there with the Terminators and prodded them whilst they prodded her back, and no one was dying. Apart from when he came across and fired off his librarian power, which is like 2d3 mortal wounds, 2d3 mortal wounds, and that's like how we chipped the Incarn down.
Did he not roll a 1 on that against you? Because he did against me.
His very first roll was a 1. Not into the Incarn, but he did d6 mortal wounds to himself. He only rolled a 2.
Oh my lord, that's funny.
But later on he did, he rolled a 6 later on, I think, and then rolled double 1 to the d6 to the damage. But yeah, so that was an interesting thing, because meanwhile, I think it was my turn 2 or 3 where I started shooting. I was like, you don't have much stuff left, do you? I was like, is that in deep strike? He's like, no, that's dead. And that was the interesting point, is that Grey Knights have so much play around, but they just don't have enough stuff.
Yeah, the toolkit is nuts. I think it's a very good toolkit, but it's the units and the pricing on them, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're obviously leaning into Terminators, who are hard to kill, because they've got the 4-up invuln, and 4-ups can be 4-ups, and sometimes it bounced, and sometimes it went straight through. And it's an interesting one because the Incarn basically sat in that corner and held up the Terminators, but was also held up by the Terminators. I didn't want to teleport the Incarn away because I wanted to keep those Terminators to hold up. But yeah, it was like, am I getting value here? It was an interesting one. But yeah, basically what happened was, as we got towards the end, he just didn't have enough stuff to score. The objectives started moving, and I was able to consolidate onto the one that was remaining. Mm-hmm. So I scored the 8. I scored the 15, even though I was going first. And then just to really stab it in his final turn, on maybe turn 4, he dropped down 5 Terminators. And I was like, might as well overwatch with my D cannon.
There we go.
And this is quite interesting. So I rolled 2 attacks. I'm like, right. When do I use my 6? Like, do I guarantee? I was like, well, I'll roll the first one. It's a 6. Excellent. Okay, well, I've got 1 hit.
Slow rolling is your friend with these other guns.
What do I do with the second one? Do I now auto and get 2? I was like, no, I want the mortal in. So I just rolled the other one, re-rolled it, didn't get a 6, got 1 through. Used the fate dice to make mortals. So I was like, right, well, this is d6 plus 2. Boom. There was the magic 6. 8 mortal wounds. Yeah. Joe had been like so lovely during that game, like really helpful, really knowledgeable on rules. And he like leaned over, was like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, D cannons break a man. They break a man.
So I think one was already slightly injured. So I think I removed 3 Terminators.
Yeah,
which was just really like it. But no, it was like 70-40 ish as a result. But no, he played it really well. He just didn't have enough stuff, because that's the Grey Knight.
That's where they're at. Yeah, that makes sense. Jack, how about you for round 3?
So I played against Chaos Space Marines. I played against Liam.
Oh, Liam, Liam Borswick from Toys. Liam. Great. Yeah.
So his list was basically Abaddon and a ton of Space Marines, Terminators.
Yeah.
Space Marines. Terminators, a bunch of Terminators. Then he had a big Land Raider, a couple of 5-man units, 2 cultist units, and a unit of Warp Talons.
Mhm.
I think that was about everything. Oh, and a big unit possessed with mass possession. That was important.
Sure.
So this game, I got super lucky because we did he stacked from my point of view, the right hand side of the board, with his Land Raider, his possessed guys, Terminators were in Deep Strike, and then he went very light on the left hand flank, which was just a unit of cultists and a 5-man Legionnaire unit.
Okay.
And I had infiltrated the Ghost Kill on that side, so I was sort of holding the left hand side of the board. He was stronger on the right hand side of the board, and then the objectives that were disappearing was start in the middle, that one disappears, then the one on the right flank disappeared.
Oh,
so
nice.
I had all my stuff on the right hand side.
Yeah.
So I also had Shadow Sun and Skyray over there. So I was like, well, that's insanely lucky. That's worked out so well for me. The problem that I had with this army is, Space Marines have this little strat. It's really annoying. It's called Cloud of Flies.
Yeah.
So if you have a Nurgle mark, which the Land Raiders did, the Terminators did because of Abaddon, and
and as long as you're not Death Guard, because they don't get this anymore. Carry on.
Yeah. And the Cultists had this as well. He can just spend a CP and I can't shoot him outside of 12. So the first turn I was expecting to do very little, and he just used it on the Land Raider. I'm like, well, I killed like three cultists, and that's what I did with my turn. I'm like, okay, well,
so good. The unshootable Land Raider is just such lols.
It's like Town Zone 1. It is what it is. It's not going to do very much, so don't worry about it. I just sort of like moved on to objectives. I'm like, you have to get rid of me. So come expose something, get rid of me. Which he did. He put the Warp Talons forward, tagged the Skyray, and then some of the Legionnaires got out on the center with the Land Raider. He killed one of my Skyrays just with the last cannons of the Land Raider. And I was like, oh, that's okay, sure. It kind of took me for a loop there, but it ended up benefiting me in the long run, I think. So the next turn, so I lost basically the mid board at that point. So I brought on the broadsides next to Shadow Sun, the little sort of left corner, and the Crisis unit lined up on the front, in front of the building. It's like a new piece for UKTC. It's a very like wide build. It's what is it, like 20? How wide would you say? It's like 12 inches by 8 or something. It's big.
Yeah. Just for clarification, I don't think this was actually specifically UKTC.
No, this
was
similar. No, this was light compared to UKTC.
Right, I was under the impression it was that. Okay, but
anyway. No. This was much more open.
Yeah. But that building, because it's so wide, and it had like a dip in the middle, so the battlesuits could fly over the top of it. But and half the unit could go over the middle, and the other half could go around. And I could actually interact with the building rather than it just being, because it's flat. Like most of the buildings we deal with flat along the top, so it's kind of hard to get around them. So I was put there, and then he rapid ingressed in Abaddon on the center, 12 inches away from everything. So if I tried to shoot him, I couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's not very good. So instead, I cleared up all the 5-man units of Legionnaires, and the broadsides took out the Land Raider. And then the Breaches came out and near enough deal with the Warp Talon. I was able to finish off with an Overwatch from a Skyray, which was quite cool because it got the rerolls. That always feels nice.
Yeah, it seems like that's a running theme of being quite an effective Overwatch tool, that thing.
Yeah, it's really nice. So from there, because he'd rapid ingress in front of me, 12 inches away, his plan was obviously to move forward, advance and charge with the Slanesh stratagem, and charge the Crisis unit. But what I was able to do with the Strike and Fade was shoot the Legionnaires, then Strike and Fade over the building, and that put me quite far away. He got a decent advance. I think it was a 5-inch advance, and it put him on a 10-inch charge. But he went for it. He didn't get it. He chose not to re-roll it, and it was not a great situation for him to be in, because I just moved in the Crisis unit into within 12, 2 broadsides within 12, Shadow Sun within 12. The Crisis unit killed the entire Terminator unit dead, and put Abaddon down to 3 wounds. Shadow Sun just pointed a fusion gun at him and finished him off. And then that was basically the game at that point, because almost the entire Chaos Army was gone, bar the Possessed. Possess did do some damage. They were able to clean up most of the breaches and they cleared up a devilfish and then moved into the center and started hitting the crisis. But the crisis just sat in the middle on the objective in combat and shot in combat with big guns never tire. And was using the stim injectors, the 6+ Feel No Pain, to just live through, and 6 wounds, just live through so much that I just shouldn't. And then on the last, I just piled all the broadsides, the Ghost Kill, and Shadow Sun, everything on the other objective that was the only one that was left. And I was able to pick up a lot of points that way. I think this was probably, again, there was a lot of luck in this one. The dice just completely disappeared on the last 2 turns for Liam. He couldn't roll anything to save his life, which is really unfortunate. But it was a tight game. I think it could have, like, if he made that 10-inch charge, it was probably over.
It's a cat and mouse one, isn't it? It's cat and mouse. If he does get into you, that's Jenga. But it sounds like you were able to keep him at arm's length. Yeah,
I was able to keep far away. I mean, there's 100 different points where that could go wrong. Like maybe he rolls a 2 for his advance and then he can't even make that charge, or there's 100 different ways it could have gone. But the crisis unit with the plasma, I did end up going 3-0 on this day. Yeah. But mostly because I played Space Marines 3 times and I have a unit of Crisis with all plasma, and all the Terminators I've played against all had 3 wounds. So every time they fail to save,
they just love killing Terminators.
Yeah, they're really good at that. So it was again a lot of good fortune on my part there. But that unit still was really impressive. Really happy with it. Same for the broadsides as well when they got to do something. The problem is the crisis unit would kill something and then they'd have nothing left to do. So that was the biggest problem I had with them, is that I didn't have enough things to kill.
Superfluous,
yeah. But that was a really good game. It was the first time playing against Chaos Space Marines.
I've got to say, like, you've played, I say it's 3-0, it's with Tau, and you've played 3 players I know to be very good players. That's a really strong showing of a day, I think. I know there's some things about the matchups that are kind, but I think that's a cracking performance. Yeah,
I do think Tau also one of those armies where if you've not played it against it before, they can just catch you out with.
Well, this is exactly it with the new index thing as well, right? People don't know. Yeah.
With random jank, like the crisis unit just moving away after you rapid ingress in close, because you think you're getting like almost like a gotcha on the tower, right?
Yeah,
so you come in, it's like, you've moved, but now I'm in close to you and I'm gonna get a charge, and then you say, well, no, you're not, because I'm gonna move 12 away. And you can, and that's after you shoot them.
And
that's it's almost like a Uno reverse card, right? That's you're pulling on someone.
No, I like that though.
But I really enjoyed the list, and ended up going 3-0, so it was really good. But Fantastic. Primary, I hate this primary. I hate this primary. It's terrible. I hate it. None of us. I think what was it? I got a primary here. I got it written down.
I was looking down the results, and some of the losses were catastrophic.
Some of the wins were catastrophic. I got 63. I got 63 points.
The wins were not. Yeah, it wasn't big numbers. I wonder if this makes it into a UKTC pack, because people will have opinions about it if it does. It's very Age of Sigmar with the disappearing objectives. They have a lot of crap like that.
So you all play fast armies that don't like to be interacted with. I really like playing big, thick, tanky boys that sit in the center. I fucking love this mission. Oh, you've got little weak shitters? Nah, I'm here, son. This is my fucking territory. I'll break your fucking jaw.
It's probably
more of that, please.
It sounds like it's time for Ed to tell the story of his final round game. So history is written by the victors. So I'm gonna let Ed have the floor and tell this one. And if I think there's any facts need addressing at the end, I'll step in after you, sir.
So to sum this game up, Jack Tight looked at us and said, "I've never seen 2 people less happy to play each other." We were just. Our game 2 had both gone right to the end.
Yeah, tough games as well.
And we were both pretty drained. We'd both played against each other, Elva into GSC. We knew it was going to be a slog.
Yeah.
We just sat there and was going like, right. glad this is my round 3.
It was really like there was something. It was almost like going to work. It was just kind of like we both just like sat down, just like. Hello.
It's like, you know, when you used to go out on the piss all weekend, and then Monday morning comes around, it's like, oh, I've got like a 10-hour shift.
Yeah.
Oh, what do I have to do? Is there anything I can do other than do this?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, is he there?
And he's gone.
Oh, is he gone?
He's frozen and then he's loading. So he's got
Okay,
no
he'll be back.
connection. Let's play some intermittent music.
Hey, he's
I'm
back.
back.
He's back.
Hey.
You are back.
Perfect. Yeah. No, I was just saying. I always enjoy playing Tom, but not Tom's armies, and
Yes.
in this case, probably the same.
And I feel similarly about it. And they're always really close as well. That's the thing. It's not one where it's like, other than actually, okay, we've had a couple of TTS practice games where I've played like shit and you've demolished me. Actually, to tell the full story,
you weren't at full efficiency in that
No.
first TTS game. You were having a bad time at that point, so we'll not.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're close, tough games. So yeah, tell the story, Ed. How'd this one go?
So we were playing my favorite primary mission, and basically the left-hand side from my perspective, that's the one that went first, and then the middle, that was the one that went second. So it was again very much a kind of, you're going to skew over to the right at the end of the game. I don't think I really had much over to the right by that point. I put something there at the end of the game, but spoiler, I went second. So
winning.
Well, not a fan.
It's a good start. Yeah.
Not a fan.
Turn 1, you drove the bike brick up. And I'd asked you like the same thing 3 times because both of our brains were fried. And then you did loads of mortal wounds to me. I was like, oh, fuck. This isn't good, because I had 2 Wraith Lords stood next to each other. So by the end of the shooting phase, one was dead and one was really chunked.
Yeah, I was sad not to get that second one.
You'd moved some forward deployed aberrants forwards.
I really did. I just shoved him.
Yeah, I was really pinned in, and I was not pleased about it. So you moved your aberrants forwards, and I had a choice. I can move the Wraith Guard back, or get charged and lose them. So I was like, well, can't do that. So I fire and faded them back. You immediately vectored it, made it cost an extra CP, which was the correct choice, and I hated you for it.
I'm a bad man.
Yeah, absolutely. So that meant that my Wraith Guard were further back than I wanted them to be. And I couldn't overwatch you as well, because, starting the game with 1 CP sucks. Then you just came in, did some slappy slaps. You didn't kill the Wraith Lord, did you?
No, so Wraith Lord took 10 aberrants to the face like an absolute hero. He was, he was not, him living was not something I anticipated, but I mean, he's higher toughness than their strength, right? So I think I had junked the +1 to wound strat that turn on some incidental shooting to kill the second Wraith Lord. I think I should have saved it for the aberrants, but I was just like, so many attacks, surely they'll get through it. But so that was my error. I should have saved it for that Wraith Lord. So he survived on like a wound, I think, with 10 aberrants.
I think it was literally 1.
Yeah.
I think I said something along. Oh no, he had a little bit more than that actually.
Oh yeah, no, that was later.
So without going into the full nitty gritty, turn 1, Tom is like full send forwards. He has pinned me in my deployment, and I am uncomfortable.
Like a man who knows he's not getting primary if he doesn't die on the fucking line for it.
Killed one of my Wraith Lords, dinked up 2 of the other ones, and I'm like, not feeling this. This is uncomfortable already. So my swings back into the aberrants do fuck all. I think I roll 2 hits out of 8 sweeps, because that's how BS4 weapon skill 4B. Sometimes you hit all of them, sometimes you do not, but that's okay. Still love my my big Wraithy boys. So end of turn, his turn 1, I'm a little concerned. Then I move up, just sort of move forwards, clear the things that are in front of me, and prepare myself for the pain that is coming on turn 2 when he brings in all of his stuff from reserves. During this time, we work out Eldar don't kill aberrants. Not comfortably.
The aberrants were actually my best unit, I think.
They were really good. I really liked 1 brick.
They were, for a fun unit, they were sick. Like, they just took so much damage.
Yeah, they're not fun. They have a 4 up feel no pain.
They're fun. They're fun for me. I don't get to play a lot of LOL 4-up things. It's quite nice. It's quite nice to have a LOL 4-up unit for once. So.
Absolutely brutal. Yeah. And plus, with the amount of cover you're getting, you're still getting like a 5 or a 6 up save, which weirdly actually matters. And,
like, the sort of mini transhuman -1 to wound, it throws a lot of stuff off. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I paid a CP to fall back in charge and shoot my Wraith Knight, because I was like, let's just, let's get at her, put as many shots in as possible. Put all my, just incidental fire into them. I think I killed like 5. There was maybe 5 left at the end of the turn.
Yeah, I think it was about half the unit.
Yeah, I charged in with the Wraith Lord. I was like, cool, I'm going to, really ding them up here and get my money's worth, take my pound of flesh, as it was. This is where I bounced, and I did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You swing back into me. I make way more saves than I have any right to do.
Yeah, like a hell of a lot.
Yeah, and then I failed the last save. I was like, oh no, I didn't fail it. I was like,
no.
I had 1 save remaining. I was like, does it matter if he lives? It kind of feels like it does, because obviously with how combat works now, he'd be striking first if he didn't fall back.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and also you had like spiders and a fire prism in behind there. And
sure.
So there's enough aberrants left to go and make trouble for them if he falls. So it's a big deal him staying alive.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just, I was like, yeah, cool, we'll spend the fate dice here. Fantastic. So he survived to tie up another day and was actually really kind of inconvenient for you.
He was a massive twat. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So my memory's a little fuzzy on it. What did you do in your turn 2? Paint the picture?
In my turn 2, I didn't do all of the things I would have loved to have done. I think looking back, I think the start of the game was very adrenaline fueled, because I was like, okay, Ed's on end of turn. I don't like it when Ed's on end of turn. I have to go and do an extreme amount of dying now to try and get some primary before he gets his 15 at the end. I took 2 decisions that were big. I think I dropped my demo charges down. You'd put the Way Leaper out, so I dropped demo charges down, thinking demo charge the Wraith Lord, hand flamer, Way Leaper, jobs are good. In my head, you can throw demo charges at a monster that's in combat, and I was thinking demo charge Wraith Lord, then aberrants go through into stuff behind. Again, happy times. On the other flank, I'm like, surely if I put, I reckon 600 points of Gene-Stealer Cults on the far objective and shoot at Ed, I will then be able to hold that for 1 turn to get 5 fucking points, which I'm gonna need. Surely. But also, I think, there's lots of things in there where I think with the bullshit levels of GSC, there's more nasty, canny, dickheaded ways you can play all of those assets than I used in that turn. I got the Wraith Lord down. I don't think the Neos and stuff coming in on the other side did much, but actually the Wraiths are very good at blunting them, because the Wraiths with cover and buff 2-up saves actually pretty good at dealing
T7.
with. It's a lot of AP2 and GSC shooting, so it's not it's not a given. And so you had lots of nice assets, and obviously the Wraith Guard present you this thing of you can shoot us, but you're going to shoot us back, and also you'd phantasmed away from the demo charges, right? That was a big deal. So I made it so you had the choice of you can shoot me with stuff that doesn't kill me immediately, and then I pick up something. Yeah, which was that was exactly it. So I think this is the issue with in this particular matchup, the demo charges. Obviously, the thing you want to do is demo charge the Wraith Guard. But as long as you've got a Phantasm, and you were being very good, even though I'd vectored it, you were making sure you had the CP for it, and you were saving your resources, and the Way Leaper was playing his part in that, which meant you can't actually do it. It's just like Scrivo can't shoot you with his Hellblasters without you phantasming in. I can't get to you with demos without you phantasming out.
Yeah.
So I was really struggling to get any teeth into the Wraithguard brick, because those are the only thing I had other than the Aberrant brick, which obviously you'd managed to avoid, that was going to get into it. So I dropped down, nuked a couple of things, and then my memory at this stage is just that Wraithguard just start doing stuff, and I'm just sort of watching it happen. And I think I go briefly outside my body for a while because it's better to be outside of my body for a while. And then by the time I come back in, you're sort of wandering down a flank. But I think it's important for people who want to know how to play Eldar well that you explain what the fuck you did, because it was amazing.
Cool. So basically what happens is Tom has to kill my Wraith Lord in combat, I think. So you fall back the Aberrants. So
I have to fall back the Aberrants, so they can't roll through on that side. So at that side, I'm not getting to your sort of soft parts or tying you up at all.
Absolutely.
The push has failed. Yeah.
And this lets me clean up that side pretty handily. Yeah. What happens as well, I decide that I draw a card. I have to do, it's either behind enemy lines or teleport homers. I have to get into your back lines. So my Way Leaper, who has died, actually I rolled a 2 on the Phoenix Gem, so I came back, which was lovely. I yeet him off to do the action in Tom's deployment. He rolls the Overwatch, and he just survives. I
do 16 wounds with hand flamers.
That was it.
He has 4 wounds and a 3-up save, and he survives. And that's not impossible, but it was annoying.
There was I don't even know if I used a CP. I definitely used a fake guy.
I don't. Yeah, I think he just rolled good. Just rolled good.
Yeah.
He
It was one of
like,
those where
I
you
ain't
go
getting
like
barbecued.
Yeah, I should roll these, and then you go, I should slow roll these just in case it matters. And then it did matter, so that was very nice.
Yeah.
So he
some
goes
power
off.
rolling. Yeah.
Absolutely, he goes off, gets me some points, and then immediately gets flattened next turn. But he's done his job, so he's a big man.
Yeah, he was done really well on that flank.
I brought the Shadow Spectres in with the plan to try and deal with your home objective. That was very much the aim. I wanted to deal with the guy. You've reminded me that you've got a strat that gives them stealth, and then the next units, and everyone after that can't shoot if they're outside of 12 inches away. So I've got to really think about my positioning. Shadow Spectres can, in theory, one-shot a GSE brick.
Yeah.
Because they have blast and D6 shots and strength 4 AP 1/1 damage. It's pretty nice.
They've got the guns. Yeah.
So what ends up happening is I put some warp spiders to try and like 1-2 tag that unit.
Fuck, I forgot how this went. Yeah.
So the warp spiders jump in, and I needed to kill exactly 7 models. And because there's a 5-up feel no pain in this squad, I'm like, okay, in my head, the maths kind of checks out. It does about that because you've got cover, yada, yada, yada. And basically, long story short, they kill 8 models. So suddenly I can't see a single
Which is
one.
all the special guns that have stuck their heads out, right? There's 8 guys.
Yeah.
They're all dead. Now there's a regenerating brick behind a wall that's like, see you next turn.
So at this point, I'm like, okay, this turn is not going how I planned it. What is the backup plan? So I pivot, and I'm like, okay, I've got to shoot these into the 20-man brick. I'll just put them the squad that's at the back of the objective, and I'll try and thin them out. And you use the strat a second time because you've got the character that lets you do that. Makes them -1 to hit. Oh no, you didn't need to do it on the warp spiders. That was it because of the
I got killed. They auto hit. Yeah.
So you make them stealthy, and you make it so nothing else outside of 12 inches can interact with them, which is a great move. I only killed 9 of them with the Shadow Spectres, which is really under where I expected.
Yeah, that was one of the most underwhelming bits of the game. Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, there's not really much in range. I've got my Wraith Guard brick though, so I should probably point them at them. So I do. I go, right, cool. 10 Wraith Guard going into that squad. I think one of them had to shoot someone else because he was out of the 12 inches.
Yeah, that's right.
So I shoot in there, and a little bit of fake dice and shenanigery inside of the unit with a flipper die to a 6. And would you look at that? I've killed the last 11 with some mortal wounds.
Absolutely annihilated. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm feeling good about that. Then I go, cool. That's the end of my shooting. I've thinned out what I need to thin out. Great. I'll charge them. So I charge them into the 10-man squad that's on the point. Wraithguard actually not bad in combat. They hit the threes.
They have a shit ton of attacks for the shooting version.
Each.
They have so many attacks.
3 attacks for 5, isn't it? So it's good.
30 attacks coming out of the non-combat version. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's AP 1 damage.
Well, yeah, you're talking to a guy that's wearing a bit of fucking
t-shirt
cardboard,
saves.
Though. Yeah,
exactly. So I pretty comfortably pick up the 10 models there.
Yep.
And then my favorite bit of the night is I then pile in.
Yeah.
So I tag 1 model in Tom's squad, and this is like the next 20-man brick, which I think I killed like 5 models in. So there's like 15 left in there, something like that.
Yeah.
And I have just a huge shit-eating grin because I don't touch you at all. Well, I move in, and I'm like, cool, can you make some attacks? And I don't think you even bothered to roll them because you just...
Well, why would I? Yeah.
Yeah, it's T7 2-up save. You know that you can't do anything. I was like, cool. So I'm going to roll some dice now. So then I did... ridiculous bullshit, and I wiped the entire squad with my gun foo. This is why Wraithguard are the best combat unit, because
that's 450 points pretty much that they've got basically in 2 phases.
Yeah, I can't even remember if there were any characters in there which would have,
I don't know. These were fairly chaffy, but you still just absolutely rinse them.
Yeah,
and it was. I'm sure there's spacing and anticipating you can do with making sure they can't be getting through and tagging, but I hadn't done any of that shit, so I got rinsed.
Yeah, so basically all that I did was I walked up, I shot 1 unit, charged and killed another unit, piled in, got to shoot you again.
Yeah, and so it's a phenomenal combination. Yeah,
I went second. Sorry, go ahead.
Attacked you, right? And then
you because they had
pistols.
to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one neophyte goes bonk and tries to fight back. And all the other neophytes are like, no, don't do it, stop! And then
alarm
they just go,
bells go.
Yeah.
The Kill Bill music, they all turn their heads towards like one GSC, dude.
Yeah, the Neos are like looking the other way. This Wraith guy just like taps him. He's just like, oh fuck, they're all gone. Absolutely.
So I put a neophyte-sized hole in that neophyte squad. which was great fun for me. Maybe less so for Tom.
It was stunning to watch, but it was catastrophic levels of violence.
It was catastrophic for levels of violence. And the important thing to know is you can only do this once per battle round, but I was going second.
Yeah.
So now I'd swept up the flank. I'd piled in. I was pretty much like 2/3 of the way to his lines.
Having done well to sort of push them back up into the back at the start, I then
Mm.
really let them get a long way down the board with combat, which you'd used.
You can't stop them.
No, that's it. You'd used it extremely well.
Yeah, like Fire and Fade just makes it. Not Fire and Fade, sorry, Phantasm. Makes even Wraith units like disgustingly fast. So like turn 3, I'm typically knocking on my opponent's home objective, which is where I want to be. So coming into your turn 3, there was this Wraith Guard brick that you couldn't interact with because I would shoot you. That was.
I didn't have anything left that was going to do them enough damage.
No, you did have some blips though.
I had some blips. I did have some blips. I think at this stage, my assessment is that I've lost the game. There's not going to be. Because I'm not on end of turn. There's no way I can claw primary and stay on it. You've got a lot of resources left that are going to do things. So I sort of get a bit distracted trying to chase after my cards and my secondary cards and everything else. Which leads the way for the coup de grace, doesn't it, Ed? Because what happens next?
So you had 3 blips around your home objective and 1 in your back left ruin.
Yeah.
So I incidentally killed the one in the back left ruin just by sweeping
the Wraith
my
Guard
Wraith
just
Guard
swing
round.
by, right?
Yeah, and they just like get in close. Cool, that's gone. Nice. And then I deep strike in a unit of Warp Spiders, which I have left for this purpose.
The classic third turn reserves, which is always my attention span clocks out after the second turn of reserves. I can't hack 3 turns worth of reserves.
Well, neither can I apparently, because I had a D-cannon in reserves that I just completely forgot.
You forgot your D-cannon. You could have destroyed the Ridge Runner and made it just the full annihilation and humiliation.
Yeah, but I was too pleased with myself for killing 4 blips in 1 turn.
Yeah,
it was completely forgot I had a gun that I could have brought in. So
it's big. I think if you're playing GSC sort of hyper competitively, you have a Clamavus, you reserve it literally until 2 or 3, you drop it in to cover those blips, and then that's never happening, and that's how you would run it.
You don't even attach it to a squad.
No, that's it. You have it in deep strike, waiting for when's the turn they're going to try and get my blips. Comes down 24-inch bubble. Yeah. Nothing going on. So that's
potentially run like 2 icon wards, so you can bring back.
So I was thinking about that. The icon ward with bringing one back was okay. The Feel No Pain was okay. I think it's definitely Clamavus protection. It's sort of like don't lose them in the first place. You know what I mean? Rather than having like I've got one way of getting them back. But yeah, I think probably Clamavus and icon ward. Certainly for teams, I'll try both those. Yeah.
I really like the potential to sacrifice a blip by leaving it somewhere that looks a little bit risky.
Yeah, just to make them do something stupid. Yeah.
Oh no, this is in your backlines now.
Yeah, for sure. So actually, that plus the durability it gives the Nexus brick, I think you're right. It makes sense. I just need to glue his banner back on.
Yeah, because I kept saying
so sad. You don't know where he is.
I kept saying like, oh, so which one? And you're like, no, this one has the Feel No Pain. It's the banner guy. And then as you picked him up, I realized, oh, I can see the banner pole, but there was no banner.
Just a guy with a stick on a pipe at the moment.
And then it sort of tweaked in my brain because I was in just a fucking fugue state at this point. My brain was.
Oh yeah, no, I was mentally absolutely shutting down. But that was it. I mean, that killed it off. There was a bit of scrapping around for points here and there after that, but you're always coming home to the win at that stage. And I think obviously killing off the blips was a masterstroke, and that finishes the job. So amazing game. Wraith Guard used phenomenally well, and they're a horrifying unit. Absolutely despise them. And a deserving win for Ed, which takes him to the podium place, the first place finish. So very well done, sir.
Thank you very much.
Very well done. And indeed, everybody except me in this chat is a winner because amazing. Because Chris took second, I believe, and Jack third. Is that right?
It is correct.
Yeah, very, very nice. So that's a pretty strong day, isn't it?
That's the effective submarine I've ever seen.
No, well, I needed to my faction, so
yeah. He played the meta.
Probably have a word with all of the multiple TOs in our team about banning him from future events from this this behavior.
Yeah, absolutely, it's outrageous. I didn't mind the matching up on points. I kind of felt like, well, you bring GSC, you deserve to play the other stuff that's scoring very high. But obviously, in this instance, it's allowed our captain to. undermine the integrity of the event, which is a massive shame.
Also, let me dodge both of you.
It did. But that's a plus. I think that's definitely a plus. But yeah, lots of really cool achievements there. Ed with the mastery. Do you have a question, Ed? Do the Wraith Lords stay, or were they just cute?
So 3 Wraith Lords is the same as a Wraith Knight in points.
So you go Wraith Knight instead?
Yeah, now that it's been nerfed into the point of like not just my opponent doesn't get to play the game, I probably look at putting one of those on my list and test that out.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's interesting. Yeah.
Because that also lets me. So just to like quickly pivot into what you might do going forwards. I know someone asked how we approach adapting lists. Now that we've played, I've played 5 games with this list. If I put a Wraith Lord in there, I can suddenly take out one of the D cannons because I don't need that profile for doing the mortal wounds, and it just frees up a lot more points for more action bullshit, which is what wins games.
Yeah, exactly. You stick with a core, don't you? And you kind of work out what you liked and what felt superfluous. Analyze what different things actually did consistent work. This is the thing with the aberrants, because they were the sort of the fun pick, and they were just great. They were just amazing in so many.
I'd be very tempted to keep the 10.
I think definitely the 10. The 5 with the Abominant didn't really do much. He had a couple of moments. I think he bonked. Did he bonk a fire prism towards the end of that game? I can't remember if he did or not. Yes, he did.
Oh yeah, he
did bonk a fire prism. So that's that counts. But it was the classic.
I made you roll it out.
Yeah.
And we said at the time, like, doesn't this make you feel better? Because
it's just like
absolutely smashing something.
Get wrecked, you dick. Yeah, that was great. Oh, so yeah, strong performances. I mean, I was particularly chuffed for Jack with the Tau, because I think we know that Tau in the current meta are sort of are not as powerful, But it was we had 6++, I think, in the top 6.
Yeah. We will have to clarify this was a 6++ invitational.
Yeah,
there were a lot of us,
but there were some good players there.
Yeah.
It's still nice to see. But yes, no, this is not. It's not like an LGT or something where that would have been a truly remarkable feat of.
Turns out I don't get any space points for it either, which I'm fucking gutted about.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that. Yeah.
Ruined my evening. Thanks, Davey.
Yeah, Davey.
Why?
Because it's not UKTC registered. There's no.
You twat, Davey.
I don't even. Maybe.
Should invitationals be UKTC points?
If
I don't
win,
have
yes.
team personality. If we win, yes.
Ah, dear. So yeah, I think that's us. I mean, it's very late. We've chatted a lot. Do we want to do questions another day?
Yeah.
And come back to it. I think that's the sensible thing. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening in. We had a great time with this. We will definitely do other 6++ invitationals in the future, and we'll think bigger and better as we go. We've got a bunch of us at teams, including myself and Jack, this coming weekend for our first teams event of 10th, DSC and Tau and Space Marines and Tyranids. So that'll be a thing. We'll see how that goes. I'm very excited. So we'll be back to report on that soon. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.